please welcome my guest for this evening, VIL.
Hello, hi everybody.
Hey, VIL, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. Oh my god, for having us on, I
Oh, the
really
pleasure's
appreciate it.
mine. I'm glad we were able to make it work out that we'd initially scheduled this show for a week or two ago, but you were sick, so had to reschedule, but we make it work. No big deal. I'm
Yes,
glad you're feeling better.
I do appreciate. Yeah, unfortunately, everyone might hear me cough a little bit during the interview, but in general, though, like I am sounding way better. I actually posted on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
um, like a clip of my voice, and it sounded like I was talking through gravel. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
you
feeling a
sent
lot
me
better.
you sent me something when you were saying, "Jay, we can't do it tonight. It's just not working." Like, oh no, can't have a show like that. That's gonna be a bad time. But
Yeah, yeah.
glad to hear that you are on the mend. That better late than never. And seriously, just so excited to have you here, and that it, I'm trying to remember when I first became aware of you. That I can't remember who it was, but I I'm 99% sure the first time that I encountered the name VIL was because you posted a clip of one of my past guests. I can't recall who it was. It may have been, gosh, it may have been Red Claw. I'm not sure, but there
Yeah.
was there was a bunch of folks, and then just you, obviously completely coincidentally, wound up posting clips of a handful of my past guests, and I was like, well, at least the guy has good taste.
Hey, you know what? Same to you. I'm glad you have good taste too. No, yeah, there's so many VTubers that I enjoy clipping and supporting, and I'm always trying to even find new VTubers to support as well. So it's not even usually the same, you know, people. There's some familiar faces where if you subscribe to my channel, you'll see them. You might see some of them on an
You've
almost
got your
daily basis,
regulars.
but my regulars, yeah. But then there's others where I try to rotate them in and out, and I like to spread the love. And so I'm glad that you saw some recognizable faces, some friendly faces.
Yeah, the folks like you and I, that we're certainly spoiled for choice. We are never going to run out of people to clip or to talk to.
No, certainly not.
Honestly, the bigger problem is, as you find folks and discover, oh wow, there's so many cool folks around, it's impossible to keep up with everyone. That just,
Yeah.
way back in the day, I tried to make a point of popping in on past guest streams, once a week or so, even if just for a couple minutes, saying hi. And then somewhere around episode 40 or 50, it was not possible anymore. It was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. I see it. Well, one, I want to support my friends, right? So I try to do that as much as possible. But also, as a clipper, I see it as kind of part of my job to stop in
Mhm.
people's streams and say hi and watch for a little bit to see if there's maybe a nugget that I can catch live. Um, and so I try to do that, but I'm with you though. Now that I'm following so many people, it's impossible to keep up with everybody. And even the people I do keep up with, like, I can never stay in their streams more than for a couple minutes, because not only do I want to like try to support a bunch of people, but also I have to worry about my own content and my own streaming and my own video editing and stuff like that. So
And looking for
there's a
new
lot.
folks, and that
Egg,
just
yeah.
that constant struggle. And uh you figure out the balance for you, and fortunately, folks understand that, just due to the things that you and I do, that it means that we're spread a little bit thin and that we're hopping around all the time, that people get it. But
Yes.
it's the type of thing that it takes a bit of getting used to. And I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on, and I'm sure you do too at this point, because we both, I'm I legitimately forget. How long have you been at this now?
So I've been at this now for oh gosh. Uh
I feel like it has to be a year and a half, at
it's a year and
least.
a half about, but the scary thing you just made me realize is that 2 years is coming up in about three months.
Oh my. Do you
Yeah. So
recall what the first clip you ever published was?
honestly, I would have to go all the way back in my channel. I do not know. However, I do know that the first person I started consistently clipping was Vexoria. the Sun
Yeah.
Year.
Mhm.
And that's because I've been clipping Vex since before she actually officially debuted. She was doing some test streams before that, kind of easing into it, and then she did like kind of a official debut. But yeah, no, I started clipping her before that.
Mhm. Did you just stumble upon her randomly, or did you have some level of familiarity with her?
No, so I randomly came across her on Twitter, I believe, when I first kind of started getting into clipping. Um, Came across her, um, and I think the main thing that really hit me was her kink positivity.
Mm.
It was, you know, the fact that a lot of our interests aligned with each other and the things that we wanted to promote. So yeah, I just gravitated toward her content. I believed in it and wanted to support it, so I started clipping her a lot, and yeah, it goes, you know, it's kind of history from there. Another one I just remembered is if anyone knows VTuber. She is another funny thing is, I guess I have a thing for snake ladies,
Huh.
but she is another snake VTuber who is another kink positive content creator. So I just kind of, not everyone I clip is kink positive. However, those are the people I tend to gravitate towards simply because those are the people I want to surround myself with and the
Yeah.
people I want to support.
And it makes perfect sense that, like you said, that's the type of content that you want to be able to promote. So naturally, that's the type of content that you're going to seek out.
Yep.
But it's pretty cool to see just, you know, one, how far you've come of just not only the fact that you have gone and transcended not just being Clipper, that you are now a VTuber yourself. But one thing that I know I really enjoy just being able to watch and see is, you know, as folks that you clip or guests that have been on my show, just, you know, watching their growth. And obviously, you know, I claim no credit for the growth of my guests, but it's cool to see folks that, you know, you may have been aware of when their followings were not as big as they are now, and to just sort of see that growth and be like, yeah, I knew they were cool back in the day.
Yeah, yep. And actually, it's funny. I see someone. I want to address this because I see someone in chat saying, "Why isn't your mouth moving?"
His mouth is moving.
My mouth is moving. So I don't know if you mind me kind of going into this.
Please.
But okay, so I'm VIL, VTubers I love. I am the crab. Hi there. And Liv is my friend here. And yeah, Liv is not like another person in real life. Liv is just a character I created. But you know, so originally Liv was created to be kind of like the forward-facing character for my clip channel, because when I created my clip channel, a lot of clip channels I had seen had this kind of they all had profile pictures that were random VTubers who already exist, usually corporate VTubers. And I didn't want my clip channel to just be, you know, kind of be seen as like the face of it just being a random VTuber who isn't even me, right? So I'm like, okay, well, what if I create a character just for this channel where people can get, you know, attached to them and get interested in them, and I can even get like art of this character, and like, you know, so yes, people come for the clips, but maybe they also get interested in like, you know, Liv and the character and stuff like that. So I come from a marketing background, so branding is really important to me. So I thought that this would be a fun way to do some like branding that would help my clip channel stand out. So I did that. I created Liv. And I adore her, even though I say she's not a real person, meaning like you're not gonna like, there's not some other person that plays her.
Yeah,
or
there's
anything.
nobody behind Liv.
Yeah. However, I still honestly like see her as a person, you know, because I created her, you know, so like I still really value her, and so you know, I will speak to her, you know, like a person, because I adore her, and also you know, I've gotten art of her, and there is someone who I have as the official voice actress of Liv, because if you come onto my streams, there are sound redeems you can get that have Liv, you know, say things. And also, I also have I have the program VTS Pog, which allows like a voice to read out a message that chat sends. And so I'll have like a little ghost, which actually, do I have? I do have them. So here, I have little ghosts that will pop up, and they will whisper things to Liv. And then Liv can read out those messages. So whenever chat donates or anything, you know, they'll pop up depending on what the message is and stuff, and Liv will read it. So that's always fun. But the way that I came about is that originally I just wanted to do clipping. Like I had no intention of VTubing. But about 4 months into it, I got so close with a lot of VTubers, and I saw, you know, I spent so much time in their communities that I was like, hold on, I want to do this. Like, I want to be a VTuber, and I want to participate, you know, in these communities and build my own community, you know? So when I decided that I did want to start streaming, I was like, okay, well, I already have a character that people like, you know my branding by, but I'm not Liv, so I don't want to be Liv. But how do I incorporate her into my VTubing without being her? And the way I came about that is that I already had this crab character. I didn't say this before, but I created Liv to be the branding. However, when I first created Liv, I actually got really sad. This is why I say that I am very attached to this character, because I got sad when I created her, because I realized like that I created her to just be kind of like in her own little like world where like it's not like there's like a cast of characters for her to be friends with, right? So like I'm like, I don't want to create a person to like just be alone. Like I want them to have a friend or something. So I created this crab to be her little companion that would follow her around and hang out with her, and they would be, you know, they'd be best friends, and the crab would like, you know, support her and stuff. So I already had the crab character, but you know, I wasn't really doing anything with it. So I'm like, oh wait, if I become a VTuber, what if I become the crab, and then Liv and I just hang out? And yeah, that's how it came
And it
about.
all fell into place.
Exactly. And the funny thing is that a lot of people don't land on a design that they like immediately. Like I've seen a lot of people who will spend all this money, you know, getting a model and doing all this stuff, and then they use the model for like a week, and they're like, I don't know, like it doesn't feel like me, you know, and then they rebrand or something. And if they, and, you know, obviously, like if it truly doesn't feel like you and you do want to rebrand, like by all means, like that's important and you should do that. But you know, I felt very lucky that it wasn't like I created this character because this was the ideal character I wanted to be. I was just like, well, I already have this crab character, so I guess I'll try that and I'll be that. And I started, you know, PNG tubing and being this crab character, and it really grew on me. Like I immediately liked it. I loved it because people, you know, I don't know, it was very cute. People thought it was cute. And people also like Liv, obviously, so we kind of have like the duo dynamic, and I don't know, I really am happy that being a crab apparently is what I was meant to be all along. So yeah, that was a nice little happenstance.
Yeah. Also, I owe you an apology. Usually I make a point of, you know, at the start of the show after doing the intro and everything, I say, you know, please introduce yourself. And I just jumped right into things. I completely blew past it. So I'm glad that you were able to do your intro.
Yeah, no, it's totally okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want me to do it real quick, hi everybody, I'm VIL, VTubers I love. I'm a VTuber clipper, as well as a tiny crab that vibes in paradise with my best friend Liv. And yeah, today we're you know, being interviewed by Vtuber Talk. And again, thank you for having me on. You know, I'm yeah, it's I know it's been a long time coming, and I've been so excited to be able to be on here with you.
Feelings absolutely mutual. Also, you mentioned something that I find kind of funny, and that's if you have a marketing background. I do too. So the parallels that you and I have gone through are like just
We have a
continuing
lot
to
in
add up.
common.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of eerie because honestly, that not only do you do clipping, but you also have a talk show of your own that
I
you
do,
have
yeah.
vaporwave vibing, and that when I saw that, I was like, oh no, he's me but better because he does clipping too. And I'm not
Oh
doing
my no. Oh my god. No, no. I mean, you do great. Like I've seen so many lovely people come onto your show, and it's always a joy to see who you have on next. So I'm glad, I'm honored to be able to join the ranks of those people.
I've been absurdly fortunate to have some just incredible people be very generous with their time. That I certainly do my best, but VTuber Talk is nothing without the guests. Also, Pixnia, thank you for the follow. Welcome on in.
I mean, yeah, that's how I feel about VTubing or clipping as well. Like obviously whenever people thank me for my clips, I'm always like, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy them. However, obviously my clips wouldn't exist without the work of the VTubers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always hope that people go and check them out and support them just as much as they would support me.
Yeah. When it comes to marketing, that for me, a lot of it has been very subtle, and part of it is also just because VTuber Talk has never been designed to be a particularly successful or scalable brand. That the
Sure.
name sort of fell into place, and I actually have a bit of a story later because it's relevant to one of your interests. But when I thought of the name VTuber Talk, I made sure to get the social handles for it right away, just because it was like, okay, this is a good brand name, and I'm kind of surprised that nobody's taken this low-hanging fruit. So I'm gonna get that real fast. But part of just my very simple branding plan, the color bars indicating TV and watching and such. Everything else is bare bones duct tape and cardboard. I have a good understanding of marketing concepts. Certain ones I have used, certain ones I have said I am too lazy to do them. But on your case, that you actually have gone to a really good place. Oh, Pixnia, thank you for the raid. Welcome on in, Raiders.
Thank you. Hi, Raiders. Thank you. Oh my god, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the raid. Hello.
Well, I guess just for the folks who are coming on in with the raid, if you could reintroduce yourself.
Sure, by all means. Hi, everybody. I am VIL, VTubers I love. I'm a VTuber clipper, as well as a tiny crab that vibes in paradise where my best friend live. And today we're here being interviewed. And, again, thank you so much for having us on. And I also
Speaking of branding, you have that intro down.
Oh, I do. Okay, so wait, hold on. It's not an interesting story, but it's just a little funny story. I used to be embarrassed that I didn't know how to introduce myself, and I got self-conscious about that because I didn't know how to like whenever people came by, like I didn't have an elevator pitch, right? Like I didn't know how to like describe what I do or who I am. So I think eventually once I came up with like that tagline, I'm like, oh, that's like my thing. So like now like I can recite that like off the top of my head, like at the drop of a dime,
Hey, that goes a long way. It goes a very long way.
Yeah, no, and I am proud of it. So thank you. That's funny that you mentioned that. And also just to point out, Aria. Hi, Aria. Aria is another friend of mine. I've had a couple friends stop by, like Wineria. I've had a couple people come by to say hi and check us out. So thank you to anyone who's coming on in.
Yes, definitely. We're just getting started. Also, Laplace the Moon Rabbit, Aria Sky VT, Anim Luxur, Onilary, and Melty Vixen. Melty Vixen TV. Thank you for the follows. Welcome on in.
Melty? Did I hear Melty? Oh my gosh.
You did indeed hear
Hi,
Melty.
Yeah, no, it always makes me happy to see my friends come on by. And again, Pix, thank you so much for the raid.
Yes, thank you so much. Hope you had a good stream. Be sure to take care of yourself. If you need to get going, get some food, get some water, do take care of yourself. But if you want to stick around, by all means, feel free to do so.
Yeah.
So,
has a good night. Yeah.
So you said that you don't remember exactly which the first clip you ever had was, but you remember that obviously Vex was... Ooh.
No, sorry, I will say, you reminded me of something.
Oh,
I remember the first clip that popped off that actually made me think that this was viable, like for something to do in the future. Um, so I mentioned Saw VTuber earlier as another person I was consistently clipping at the very beginning, and I clipped her debut, and that debut video did not do anything for I think like a week or two, and then I went on vacation, and while I was on vacation, that video got picked up in the algorithm and it exploded.
oh,
And like
that's interesting. The delayed reaction.
it was really weird. And I don't know if it was YouTube randomly pushing it or if something happened, but like yeah, so that fact that that actually popped off, I was like, whoa, like, okay, that's a surprise. Like, what can I do with this? And I just kind of went from there. But it was really nice to see. Not only was it like a video of mine that like did well, but also the fact that it was a debut of a new VTuber at the time. Like
Mm,
that made me feel really good, and that kind of sparked my interest of like, you know, I already wanted to like obviously like help indie, and newer VTubers, but I think that's always going to be part of what I do is like, um, I while I will from time to time like obviously clip like some of the big VTubers and stuff like that, I'm also always going to be mixing in smaller and newer VTubers, because I think a huge part of what I do as clipping is meant to support people, and for some people, if it's a bigger VTuber, like getting some extra new follows is kind of like a drop in the ocean, right? But then like for a newer VTuber, if you have like 100, 200 followers, and then suddenly, you
you
know,
get another 100, 200, that's doubling or tripling.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I look at that.
Mm, I definitely identify with that. That VTuber Talk was always designed to be a spotlight in its own way, and that just I've been fortunate enough to have some pretty big folks on, folks that frankly I'm not sure why they give me the time of day. I'm sure they're busy with a lot of better stuff,
Yeah, no,
but
that's
I've been
hilarious.
fortunate, but that being able to spotlight some folks that might not have as big a following
Yeah.
is something that I always really enjoy, and that again a distinct parallel between what you and I do. That a, it's it's part of what makes it fun, frankly.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yep. I don't think I would have nearly as much fun if I was clipping corporate VTubers. And again, nothing wrong with corporate VTubers. I like corporate VTubers, and I watch some of them myself. But for clipping, um, I think a huge part of what I love about it is the interaction with the VTubers.
Mm,
And so, with a lot of corporate, they don't really interact in that way with, you might get a
yeah,
comment or
naturally.
something once in a while, but like also like they're busy and they have a big following, and they like I would never take offense to it if they didn't interact with, my clips and stuff like that. But like to me, a fun part of clipping is like clipping someone and getting to see their reaction of like, oh, you clipped that? Oh my god, I can't believe you saw that,
Yeah,
or that,
because it's
you
something
know,
special. It's something that not necessarily happens to them every day. Whereas corporate VTubers, you know, they're very good, they're very talented. They got to where they are for a reason, and a lot of people clip them because they are very good. But at the same time, there's a lot of other people that are going to clip them, and that
yeah,
if you are not clipping them, they are still going to have others that will do that. But to be someone who goes out of their way to clip lesser known VTubers means that they're being able to get something that they might not have gotten otherwise.
exactly. And like, like you said, a lot of them are used to being clipped, whereas, for other indies, unless you have someone who's either a dedicated clipper for you or you have a hired editor, you're probably not getting clipped that frequently. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's important.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned that there was that debut clip that popped off about a week and a half or so after the fact.
Yes.
Do
Yep.
you find that that is at all common? Do you usually see a delay, or is that an anomaly?
It's an anomaly for sure. And it is possible for some videos to get picked up in the algorithm. Some cases it can be something if the topic with which you're video um, happens to be, if later that topic becomes a lot more popular and
If the
searched.
topic trends independently, that then more videos related to it will get surfaced naturally.
Yes, exactly. And so naturally more people will find your video. That's kind of like a freak, you know,
Just
that doesn't happen all
a
the
bit,
time,
bit of an
right?
accident there.
Yeah, yeah. And I cannot speak with certainty, right? I can only speak from my own experience and things that I've heard. But from what it seems like, YouTube will favor newer channels within the first year with which they're created. And they will kind of every now and then push one of your videos harder than usual just to kind of press the system and kind of see what people check out your videos, especially because they also obviously want to encourage you to keep creating videos.
Yeah.
But then I think after that first year, you kind of have already made your audience, and then YouTube will kind of let you just grow organically from there. Um, Again, that is just from experience. I don't know if that's actually a system, but that's kind of how it feels because I've had other people, other YouTubers, people with similar experience to mine, express similar experiences where they were like, yep, like YouTube would more consistently push out my stuff within that first year or so. And then after that, YouTube just kind of like, not to say they'll never push out your video, like they every like week or so, I will have a video not pop off in the way that I was talking about earlier, but like, I'll have one video maybe a week that does like 3 or 4 times, like 2 to 4 times better than my normal videos. And that's because when YouTube notices that your audience is watching a certain video more than your other ones, they will push that one out more because they're like, oh, this one, people in your audience really like this video.
Maybe
So we
people
need
outside
to
your audience will like it.
Exactly. But if YouTube notices that your own audience isn't liking your video, then they just won't push it at all. Because they're like, well, if your audience doesn't like it, then no one else is gonna like it. Yeah, exactly.
The YouTube algorithm, second only to the Twitter algorithm in its mysterious ways.
I will always be happy to like speculate and give my own experience, but I would always like, this is kind of my advice to people is don't bank on the algorithm and don't blame the algorithm, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll say that jokingly to myself if like a video doesn't do well and I'm annoyed, but like truthfully, if I'm like trying to like improve myself and like think of what to do better or like what I could have done better, I don't genuinely ever blame the algorithm because like that's not helpful to you or anyone.
Yeah, you don't want to use it as the boogeyman of just the easy way to blame things. That certainly the YouTube algorithm is not perfect. There's a lot of things that they
Yeah.
do that are not ideal. Obviously, though, it is still the best we got.
Yep. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard, and actually this came from Mr. Beast, but here's a great, I think this is something that anyone who posts to YouTube can learn from, is if you ever like get frustrated with the algorithm or like want to blame the algorithm, just replace the word algorithm with audience, because your audience is that algorithm. Because if YouTube notices that your audience is enjoying those videos, it will push out your videos and put it, in the algorithm. So basically you need to worry less about the algorithm and more about your audience, and think of how to cater to your audience. How can you make your audience watch your videos more? How can you get them to click on it more? How can you make a more enticing title and thumbnail that your audience will enjoy? That's kind of the most important thing, I think, when it comes to making YouTube videos.
Yeah. One big thing in the VTubing community and in the streaming community as a whole is to not bend over backwards for the algorithm, and to make sure that you're doing stuff that you enjoy and that you'll be able to cultivate your own community if you are doing things creatively and well. And obviously there are different things that you can do to help that: posting consistently on social media, having regularity in your scheduling, things of that nature.
Yeah.
YouTube videos, in terms of pre-recorded, not necessarily live streaming, but published videos on YouTube, does have a bit more of a science to it. And obviously there's a lot of analytics. Is there anything that
Oh
you've
yeah.
found just for your own channel, that not necessarily changing the way that you clip inherently, but anything from as subtle as what you do with your thumbnails, or just figuring out, all right, I have 5 different clips and they're all entirely viable on their own, but I know that this type of clip usually is going to do better, and that if I'm going to spotlight this one person, I have 5 options. I want to, both for myself and for them, legitimately pick the one that I know is probably going to be best, and that can potentially skew your decision among your options. Is there any, are there any particular learnings or trends that you've noticed that have been particularly useful to you?
Yes. Okay. I actually have a couple things I can touch on. For thumbnails, having a clear face is really, really important. The face, and especially your eyes, are kind of like the gateway into where people make an emotional connection with you.
There's a reason that the
Um,
pog face and the shocked pointing face are in,
yeah,
like 30% of thumbnails.
exactly, and that's why a lot of exaggerated faces tend to be used, is because the more exaggerated it is, the more emotion you can show, the more people are going to be like, "Whoa, like okay,
What's
like I
going
gotta
on
click
there? I
on
want to
this."
check
Yeah,
that out.
what's yep. And so if you have a thumbnail where like the face is kind of hard to see, um, then I would say that being able to either have the face take up more of the thumbnail, or have it be a like expressive, expression, that helps a lot. Text can also help. I honestly have not found a perfect method for this. Sometimes I think text is really, really good. Like, depending on what the text says, it can sometimes elevate the clip and make it even more interesting. Um, but other times I think text can get in the way. So it just really depends on, like, if you think like, is the text adding to what the what the title is saying, or is the text in the thumbnail just kind of there because you think it should have text, um so there's that. And then I would say the two biggest types of clips that I tend to go with, and this is not to say these are the only things I clip, because obviously I clip a wide variety of things, but these are kind of the two main things when people ask me, like, Vil, like, what can I do to get clipped more, or what kind of clips do you go for? Normally my most well-performing clips are either moments that are kind of on that, like, um I don't know how to put this, the precipice of being lewd. So, like, not exactly lewd moments, but like things that are like, teehee, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened, or I can't believe they
Yeah,
said
the
that,
not
like,
quite actually lewd, but the
but
ones
like,
that are either accidental and
yeah,
innuendos, or the ones that just sort of, brush up against the limits of sanity. That way it doesn't actually offend the algorithm, but that folks are able to get a giggle out of it.
exactly. And even if they are a bit more on the lewd side, I've found a way to censor it well enough that it can still be entertaining, but also it won't get YouTube mad. But obviously, like, everyone's heard, like, I mean, one, the whole sex sells kind of thing, and two, also people just genuinely find that funny, and really enjoy those kind of moments. That's one of the reasons why, if you look at some of the biggest clip channels, a lot of the moments tend to be like, they said what? Like,
Hmm.
they did what? They showed what? Oh my god, those are also very clickable thumbnails and titles, because it gets people interested, like,
Yeah,
whoa,
it's
what
oh, did
happened? Like,
something go
what's
wrong? Did something get shown that wasn't supposed to?
yeah, exactly. But then, and here's the funny thing. This is why I always call uh like my clips in my community. So I call my community members filthy degens, but I
Is a
used to.
very good pun.
Thank you, I love it. But I used to call them just wholesome degens, which I changed to filthy degens because one, I like that you know
Branding.
wordplay.
It's branding.
Thank you, branding. Yeah, but also, but the reason why I liked wholesome degens originally was because that's what I wanted my community to be. Because yes, haha, yes, we like kinky and lewd stuff, but we are also, respectful, and we also enjoy the wholesome. We enjoy both sides of things, and so I think my clips kind of reflect that. Where it's like, yes, I like clipping that kind of haha lewd stuff, but I also love clipping kind of either like real moments or wholesome moments, or like emotional moments where like people are talking about their lives, like behind VTubing and things that they've gone through. One of my best performing clips is Ryu Guegui, who was talking about some of the health things that she's gone through in her life. And she was just being very honest and upfront. She had never talked about it on stream before, but she was talking about it. And not only was she funny as she was talking about it, but she was also very like serious and emotional. And I think it also touched a lot of people who either didn't know this about Ryu, or they've experienced things themselves, and they felt kind of seen in having someone talk about it so openly. And so, other examples of kind of wholesome clips that perform well is like when people so two of the people that I clip most frequently are Vexoria the Sun Eater and Song Sin, who are both mothers. And so they'll talk about their family stuff. They'll sometimes even have their kids in the background,
that always introduces its own level of chaos. That if you're able to get just the audio of just a kid running around in the background or just yelling something silly, that's always going to be fun. But similar to Mr. Beast, that sex sells, but fortunately so does positivity, and so does a good happy cry moment.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say is like, yes, like you said, yes, it's true, sex sells, but what also sells, and this is true for everybody, is that like kind of like those emotional hooks, and so for a lot of people, it's like, if they see like that there's some kind of wholesome family moment going on, they'll be like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like that's something I want to see, and for a lot of people, they love it because it either gives them like the good fuzzies, and gives them some of that serotonin, but also like maybe it reminds them of times when they were younger, or maybe they didn't have that growing up, so it makes them happy to see other people have those moments, or maybe they want kids themselves, and so seeing and hearing kids interact on in this clip make them be like, oh, I want that, so there's a lot of things that could be reasons why people specifically go to those clips, but it's interesting because you could see it as like whiplash of like my clips 1 minute are like talking about lewd stuff and like whatever, and then the next clip is like super wholesome, but I kind of want it to all, and I think I've conditioned my audience to accept both sides because I've always clipped both sides, and I personally enjoy them because it's like, listen, just because you enjoy one doesn't mean you can't enjoy the other.
Exactly.
And I also never want to be like, oh well, in order to get on my channel you have to be lewd, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. It's like, no, like I want to be able to clip whatever I want, and like, yes, there is a through line to like the types of things I clip, but I didn't want to like,
you don't want to paint yourself into a corner. And
exactly,
and this extends to other clipper channels, like even ones that primarily clip corporate VTubers, I find end up going into usually one of those two buckets. And obviously there's different moments in between, but that your observations seem to certainly be on point for the wider clipper community of lewd and teehee, funny, a little bit of sexy. It can be
Yeah.
good, but also, the happy emotional moments or just the silly moments, the times when it's like laugh out
Yeah.
loud, something
Something like
wacky happened.
hilarious. Yeah. Because that's the thing is, I find that like things that are kind of funny don't really tend to do well on YouTube just because like,
It has to
if it
hit
gets like
some extreme.
it has to be like hilarious. Like something like ridiculous has to happen for the YouTube algorithm to be like, oh, okay, like yeah, like this needs to get pushed out. And it's hard to find those moments sometimes, but when you find that like little nugget, when you find that, yeah,
That's one of the ones where because it's something that I do. Just I will clip in the sense that I will click the little clip button here on Twitch,
yeah,
and a handful of times, if I think I've got something particularly good, I've posted it on Twitter. I've not
yep.
posted anything on YouTube, not trying to be a Clipper channel, but usually it's something if I'm tuning into a past guest of mine and I find a really good moment. It's been a while since I've done that, admittedly, but that's me being super lazy and getting a couple fun moments out there. But those are the ones that you sort of know instinctively this is actually a good, hilarious moment, because you're right, those don't actually happen every day.
Yep. One thing that I tend to tell people, and there's nothing wrong if you want to clip this and you want to share it. Obviously, put whatever you want on your channel, and maybe your audience will enjoy it. However, when most people ask me like, well, what should I be doing to get clipped more often, or what shouldn't I be doing? One, I would never rely on getting clipped. It's kind of dangerous to tailor your content towards getting clipped, because like you should just do what you like, do what you love, what you're passionate about, and naturally you will get more of an audience and you will get a better feel for what you like to do, and those clippable moments will just happen on their own. You can't really force. That's like, how do I make something go viral, right?
Yeah,
Which
people are going to make videos of, oh, this is how you go viral. That's not how it works.
the weird thing is, like, there are people who know the exact science for like how a lot of that stuff works, but for the average person, like, you will not be able to like every time put something out that like will go viral, right? Like it just happens naturally on its own. So rather than trying to force it, you should just do stuff you enjoy, and it'll happen, right?
Do stuff you enjoy, do stuff that you do well, hone your craft, and if you find something pops off, take a look at that and figure out, okay, what went right here, and that you might be able to hone your own content in such a way that if you find that you do something particularly well or something that resonates with people, that you can try to not necessarily simply repeat it, but that you can understand, all right, what are the things that people like, and maybe tastefully tend towards that. But what that thing is going to be that resonates with people is going to vary from person to person, audience.
Oh, it changes wildly between person to person. Yeah. And so another thing is that then, so when I'm thinking about like, if there is a piece of advice that I give, this is not saying that you should not play what you want to play or like game whenever you want, but I will say that if you ever look at any of the clip channels, none of the clip channels ever post like sick gaming moments. Do you know what I mean? Like, you having like an awesome headshot in a video game is cool, and I'm sure your audience enjoys that. However, like, that's not gonna hit the like wider YouTube audience. Like, unless they know you, they're not really, no one's gonna see your headshot and be like, whoa, like that was awesome. Like, no, like usually
that if there's a good moment and you have a good reaction to your headshot,
sure,
that could do something. But at that point, it's you and your reaction to your headshot. It isn't the headshot that is actually the clippable moment.
Yeah. And again, and that's all based on your personality. And since a lot of the clippable moments are about your personality and how you react to things, I always say that like if you want to naturally give yourself more opportunity for clippable moments, honestly, just chatting with your like community and just kind of having like times to like interact with them and talk with them, and like, you know, maybe tell a story or talk about your life, or like, you know, just kind of like having more, because most clipped moments I've noticed are either times when the VTuber is talking with their chat, or when something happens because chat interacted with them and caused something like to happen, or like, do you know what I mean? It's from those interactions and those engaging moments. You know,
One thing I'll
usually
say,
it's not like an eldering boss or something.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
one thing I will say, and this is really just as a viewer and
Yeah.
someone who has seen clips and clip channels, that if you want to try and make your things more clippable, equip your audience that folks who have really good chat redeems.
yes.
That if you have something, obviously, you know, the Twitch integrated throwing system is very good, but if you're able to do something beyond simply tits, something that is either, you know, special in what's being thrown or how it's thrown, there's people that I've seen do just insanely creative things that are combining, you know, visuals, audio, clips, TTS, you name it, that if you give your chat these different things that they can find the moments to, you know, apply these different things to, that the clippable moments in some cases can be made without you even needing to try, but you need to be creative enough to equip your audience properly.
Yep. Yeah. The more you can, the more, and this is not just for clipping. This is also for streaming in general. The more opportunities you give your community to engage with you, the more they're gonna want to, you know, stick around, hang out, like, have fun with you. Because if they have more ways that they can, you know, influence the stream, that's gonna make them, you know, have more fun, you know.
Yet another way that I have inadvertently designed VTuber Talk to be the worst performing channel on Earth.
Oh my god, okay, I was not ready for that.
Have I given you my mini rant, Vil, about how VTuber Talk is scientifically designed for poor growth?
I mean, no, I'm curious to hear what you're gonna say, though.
And I will say,
go for it.
It wasn't deliberate what I did. I realized it as I went, and I'm okay with it for reasons that I'll explain. So, first and foremost, I only deal in collabs. That's a terrible idea. I have no consistency in my schedule because I schedule around my guests. That's a terrible idea. I stream once a week or so. That's true. Not a lot. That's not a great idea. All I do in terms of posting, I post my VODs minus the starting soon screen to YouTube. Don't have any other video content. That's not really smart either. I did not take affiliates, so you can't subscribe. There are no channel redeems. That's generally not going to help you.
Oh my god.
The channel is entirely unmonetized.
I didn't even notice that until you said that.
It's generally a bad idea because getting subscribers is going to incentivize people to want to, you know, show up in your streams more. The fact that you have emotes, and that if they get seen in other chats, that's another way to advertise. I have none of that. I don't have a Discord server because I did community management professionally for 5 years, and I never want to run a Discord server.
You're like, yep,
care.
I did that. No, thank you.
No.
That's funny.
I very deliberately knew from day one, before episode 1, that I was not going to have a Discord server. I have the link to the VTubers Discord server in the panels of the channel here because I think they're a cool general purpose community for people who are interested. I have no affiliation with them. I am not sponsored, sanctioned, yada yada in any way by them. But you know, if you want to get into a Discord server, you're not going to get one from me. So there's an alternate. And just there's so many little things that stack up. And it comes down to the fact that I designed VTuber Talk to be something that I could run and have it not completely consume my schedule, something that would be easy to sustain, that I could have fun with, and that the one thing that I always care about more than anything else is the guest experience. I've said this a couple times. No offense, chat, you're second fiddle to me, or rather, you're second priority to me after the guest. That I don't interact with chat a ton. I try to, you know, if there's a good comment or a good question,
it's okay. We still love you, chat.
we still love you, but that the guest is always the priority for me, and that I will bend over backwards to make sure that the guest has a good time. but that in terms of metrics, growth, community
Sure.
building, I don't really care.
That
I'm
well,
aware of
that's
all these suboptimal things that have happened because that's how I set it up, and
yeah.
I could make an effort to change them. I don't care.
Well, and here's the thing is, like, good for you for knowing what you want. And also, like, clearly, if you're not monetizing the channel, then you're not doing this as a lot of people are doing this either as full time or with the intention of wanting it to be
Hmm.
their full time job. You clearly are not doing that. You are doing it for the love of it. You are, either in it for as a hobby or just because you want to support people. And you even said, I mean, it sounded like you said that you find this. I think earlier at the beginning of stream, you said like you find this to be a very relaxing thing. This is something
Hmm.
you do to unwind, to have fun. Um, and so, yeah, even if you're recognizing like, yeah, all these things I'm doing are probably bad for my growth. Well, guess what? That doesn't matter if you're happy with what you're doing and you're happy with your growth. If
Yep.
you
Oh, and don't get me
find,
wrong. Like I said, I'm very aware of it, and I don't care, and I'm very happy.
yeah,
But at
yeah,
the same time, I always tell folks, if you want to grow, if you want good advice, do not do what I do. Look at my guests; they're the ones that are actually, being smart about this in some way, shape, or form. If anything, I'm a great example of, like I said, that laundry list of things to not do.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, how about this? Even if you think that you're not doing all these other things great for your channel, I will say that the fact that you're focusing so much on the guest experience, I think is a testament just to like your experience as an interviewer, and that you obviously care about the people that you have on, and that you want to um, you know um, share them with everybody, and give them more exposure, and maybe like also I know that's one thing you love is bringing up things that maybe don't get talked about all the time with your guests, and being able to bring something new that maybe even their audience haven't heard or learned about them. So I think that's really neat that you um, focus on that.
And I will certainly say that, while like I said, I'm painfully aware, and I will proudly proclaim the things that I do that are suboptimal as a streamer, that I am very proud of the work that I do with my guests, and that
Good, you should,
certainly
yeah.
that goodness knows I would not be able to continue to get so many amazing guests on if I was an ass. People talk,
No, oh,
people
by all
talk.
means, yeah.
And that
Yep.
I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to make a not bad name for myself, and that that, like I said, that's the part that I care about. That's the part that I put the real effort into, and that
Yep.
VTuber Talk has been a wild success in that regard. And that that one piece that I care about, the one thing that I want to ensure at the end of the day goes right,
One Piece.
has gone. The One Piece is real.
Sorry, the moment you said One Piece, my brain
Just-
switched, and I was like, One Piece?
Well, sure.
Oh, wait.
Well, sure.
Actually,
Why not? Why not? One Piece.
Hello?
Well, where? Huh?
Where?
Well, heck, but One Piece obviously in a really interesting place right now. Have you been able to give your takes on the Netflix One Piece adaptation trailer at all?
I have not talked about it actually, so that's really
I'd
funny.
love to hear your opinion.
Okay, so I'm actually surprisingly really positive on it. I think it's valid for people to be wary of it, or maybe they don't enjoy it. Maybe they think some of the dialogue is either forced, or maybe they don't like the special effects. Listen, stretching special effects in live action
No one's
will
ever done it
all
well.
no one's ever done
Marvel
it well.
hasn't done it well.
How about this? I enjoyed it in things like The Mask because it's just good nostalgia, but like it's not like it looks realistic, right? Like it
No.
yeah.
And that's the whole thing, that you are making something real look inherently not real, and that it's always going to wind up uncanny valley at best.
Yeah, no matter what. So I've already, like, I don't care about that. I know that that will always be the case. Um, but from what I saw in the trailer, like I'm here for it, and especially I've seen a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. So the trailer itself I did like because all the sets are like
They're practical.
they're
They
practical.
they're
Yeah,
made real physical sets.
exactly. So you're not gonna have that like CGI background. It's not gonna look cheap. Like they put, I mean, they put more money into this. I think either more or maybe if it's less, it's close to it. Than Game of Thrones. Um, they are sinking a lot of money into this show. And clearly it's because one, they believe in it and they think, you know, One Piece is the best selling manga for a reason. And
Yeah.
so I think they think
It
that
has
they
the
can.
chance to be the next Game of Thrones.
Yep. And also they brought Oda, the creator, you know, the mangaka of One Piece. He is, I don't know how much of a hand he had in it, but I know that they had him involved and that he basically had to give the okay on like the actors and like the direction that they were going and stuff like that. So you know, I trust the fact that they had him involved. It seems like in behind the scenes that everyone involved in the casting and in the show actually care about the show. Um, I think they did a pretty, I won't say 100%, but I will say they did a pretty darn good job with the casting. Um, and one thing I think that's kind of funny is that there are people who are like, why does Luffy like, because Luffy's voice actor, or not voice actor, Luffy's actor has an accent. And they're like, why does he talk like that? Like, why is that his accent? And I'm like, so the funny thing is that Oda has come out and said that if Luffy was a real life person, he would be Brazilian.
Mm-hmm. Oda has actually
So,
published a full-on list of the nationality of every major character of One Piece.
and it seems like they're sticking to that, and I love that. And I'm like, and even some of the so it seems like they're like episode to episode they're going to be changing their outfits, and even in One Piece they always change their outfits arc to arc. But some of the outfits I've seen have actually been pulled from like colored like color spreads, like from different cover pages or different like sketches that Oda has done. So like none of the outfits I've seen have been like random outfits. Like they've all been outfits that have actually been things Oda has drawn for the characters. So it's just, I think that there's a lot of love being put into that show. And, you know, even if it's not perfect, great, like, you know, great, like that's fine. But I think it will be, I hope it will be good at the very least. And I think it has the potential to be amazing. I'm just curious to see where it'll land. And also, like, some people have gotten annoyed at like the fact that they've clearly had to change some things. Like, for example, they didn't give, I think Luffy wears shoes instead of sandals. Usopp doesn't have a long nose. Just, you know, things like that. I think also they even made a joke in the trailer how, like, you know, Luffy calls out a special attack and he's like, oh, all great
All cool
warriors
people call out their special attack. No, they don't.
exactly. And Zoro's like, no, they don't. Which is hilarious because I think either one, they're referencing that they might not always shout their special attacks, but two, I think it's also setting up a joke for Zoro to
Oh, Zoro's
later.
absolutely going to do it in the finale.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm thinking. Like, absolutely. And so I'm like, I don't know, even if they like make some changes so that it's still in the spirit of One Piece, but like more digestible for like a live action audience. If it's for the betterment of the show, I say do it. Like, go for it.
That's where my opinion is. So I'm in an interesting place with all this. That I am a huge anime fan. It's something I've been super open about. I usually watch like 10 seasonal anime per season. I have for many, many years now. I go to a lot of anime conventions. I have not actually watched One Piece. That I watched a little bit of the 4Kids dub way back in the day when it first aired, didn't keep up with it. And it's one that, obviously, like you said, it is the best-selling manga in the world. It is one of the longest-running anime in the world. And I don't have the patience for it. That I love watching 12, 24 episode stories and being able to, get a full cohesive narrative in something that is a bit shorter. And I would rather watch 100 different shows than
the
one
same
show of
one
One Piece.
for a long time. Yeah.
But I can understand that if I can get in on the ground floor of a long-running show, that I've been able to keep up with My Hero Academia because I picked it up between seasons 1 and 2. So
Sure. Yeah.
I've never had that huge backlog to catch up on. If I get in on something like that, that's easy, but I missed the train, or I missed the boat, shall we say. And I just sort of recognize the odds of me ever actually sitting down and watching all of One Piece, especially because it doesn't have a ton of filler, to my understanding.
It has some, but no, it doesn't have a whole lot. Yeah.
It's certainly not as much as like Bleach or Naruto.
The only thing I will say is that some of the pacing in One Piece is pretty garbage. They'll do those long reaction shots
and that they will spend a couple minutes of each episode recapping the previous episode.
Yeah, so and that doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough that it's like it can inhibit the experience. But
that's why I'm looking forward to the live action, because I know I'm not going to watch the anime. I'll sit down and watch the live action, because if I can get in on that at the ground floor, and that I think there's not only a lot of anime fans that are interested in it for that reason, a lot of non-anime fans too, because it is such a big name that there is a chunk of people. I wouldn't quite call One Piece full-on public consciousness, but it's one of the closest things that we have after Dragon Ball.
Yep,
that people have heard of One Piece, and that people are going to be like, I don't know if I want to watch One Piece, whether it be because they're not into anime or because they're aware of just how long it is and don't want that investment because, it's a scary number seeing 1,000 freaking episodes.
Oh, yeah, very.
But that this is going to give folks that chance, just like it did with Game of Thrones, that they look at these, 4 or 5 just huge tomes of books. And like, I don't know if I want to read all that. But, all right, if I'm going to be able to watch it, I might sit down and do that. And that anime is waiting for its Iron Man moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is what I love is that it's possible that, yes, if people just want to, become a One Piece fan through the live action and that's all they consume, great, good for them. However, I think some people are going to see the live action and go,
they will go and then watch the whole thing.
Maybe I should go check out the anime. Yeah, exactly. If they like the live action enough, it might turn them into a full-on, One Piece fan.
It has the chance to be a gateway, and I said anime is waiting for its Iron Man moment, because for years on end there were comic book movie adaptations that was just waiting to finally click with the broader public. That there were a couple that, did well, some that did pretty well even, but something about Iron Man, and goodness knows it's not Marvel's best film, but Iron Man was...
It was good though,
It was good, it was approachable, it had fun characters, it had solid production, and it had the promise of something more, and it offered that entry point for people that were not comic readers, and that from there they were able to spin it out into the MCU, and that, Game of Thrones, that they were able to have it be a good hook and get people in, and that anime has had all these different adaptations. Some have done better than others. Most have just not done well. And that part of it is, at this point, the anime fandom is understandably conditioned to be skeptical, if not outright hostile, toward any adaptation. Because goodness knows we have been burned many times. And every time I try to be cautiously optimistic, say, all right, we as anime fans need to give it a chance, because if the broader public sees the anime community just outright rejecting something, the general public's not going to give it a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
We need to be the tone setters to at least leave the door open. But at the same time, we need to realize, rather One Piece fans need to realize, and I recognize this is something mildly inflammatory that I'm about to say.
No, go for it.
Any given live action adaptation is not made for the source material's fans. Live action adaptation is made for everyone who is not a fan.
It's made for a general audience,
and that it is meant to, like you said, be that gateway to get people in, to make them want to then seek out the source material. And that even if only 5-10% of the people do that, if you were able to actually get the general public's interest and have them become invested in that story, that it can then mean a huge influx into that source material. That goodness knows comics have had a massive resurgence because of the Marvel films doing well. And if One Piece does well, anime could see that One Piece itself naturally, but then it will have a trickle-down effect, I anticipate, to broader anime watching, because it's very easy to, okay, that's my first show, but then, well, I'll seek something else. And all right, One Piece has a lot, but I saw this other thing on Crunchyroll. Let's try that. And that if One Piece live action does well, the entire anime market will benefit. And that because of how big One Piece is, if this one in particular does well, even more so than Bebop, even more so than Battle Angel Alita, if this does well, this could be a pivotal moment for North American anime in the industry at large. And if it flops, I don't think the industry is actually going to be worse off for it. That it'll shrug it off and it's another failed attempt. But if it does well, this could be a transcendent moment for the One Piece and anime fandoms as we know it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can get that.
I think it would be so cool. Like, on the one hand, yes, I want this live action to be successful because it's good for One Piece in general, and it'll mean more One Piece fans. However, I don't just want it to do well because I want more people to check out the anime. I hope the live action is so good that, like, I'm looking forward to more of it in the future. Like, yeah. I hope it's so good that, like, it becomes, like you said, like the next Game of Thrones or whatever. Like, I would be so happy if, like, people who don't normally like anime are like, oh, but this One Piece thing on Netflix is pretty good, like, that would be incredible. I would love that. And I don't know if it'll be that, but I sure hope it is.
Yeah, we do not know. And while I stand by the statement that no live action adaptation is designed for its existing fans, I will certainly say the best ones do still get the approval of the existing fans. That
yes,
I do not think it's actually required for it to be a success, but the best ones are able to actually hit for both audiences.
I don't think it needs to follow the anime exactly or follow, like, all the whatever.
And goodness knows, you're never going to be able to get in live action in that runtime. Part of why One Piece is so prolific and so emotional is because it's given that time to read. And no, you're not going to get that in the live action, and you just have to accept that.
But as long as it gets the vibes of the characters and the meaning behind the series, I think that's what's going to matter most. Also, as a One Piece fan, I would be remiss, to not mention this to you. So obviously, if you never want to get into the anime, that's fine. That's all.
It's the type of thing that I want to. I would love to, but that I realistically look at it and say the odds are low just because there's so many other shows that I want to watch every given season. It's not impossible. I look at it and say just unlikely, but not for lack of desire.
Here's my recommendation. If you ever do start trying it, watch up until the Arlong Park arc. And if you finish that arc and you're just kind of like meh on it, or you don't know if you want to sink all that time into it, even if you enjoy it, but you're like, I don't know if I need to spend all this time watching the rest of it, you can stop there. However, most people by the Arlong Park arc, that is like, they watch that, and it's one of the early arcs, but like, you watch that and it's like,
I know of the Arlong
hooked.
Park arc. That I know that Arlong is the saber, the shark guy.
He's a shark.
And that it has a lot to do with Nami as a character.
Yes, and that's one of the biggest, like, that's the first huge, like, there's emotional gut punches throughout the beginning, but like, they're kind of like, oh man, oh that sure is sad, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But like, that one, there's one in that arc that, like, I like started crying when I saw it, and it was like, oh, like that's where it hooks people. That's where like, oh, like Oda's got you, So that's what most people tell others. If it's like, I don't know if I'll like One Piece, it's like, watch up until there. If you like it, great, keep going. And if you don't, you know what? Then You tried, you know, but that's usually where and here's the thing. I think the entirety, like even before that, I was into One Piece on episode 1. You know what I mean? But I will say that that arc that I just mentioned is usually goes where it goes from being like pretty good, like I like this, to like, oh, this is something special. And then it only gets better from there. So yeah, and the fun thing too, because what you mentioned is like obviously like I get wanting to watch a bunch of different series because, you know, yeah, like all series offer something different. But one fun thing about One Piece, I mean, obviously the more time you put into it, the more emotional investment you have, but also each arc is like totally different. Like each arc has such a different like vibe. Like yes, it's all One Piece and a lot of it has the same emotional like you know, themings and stuff like that, but like the kinds of arcs they are like totally different. Like one could be like, you know, each arc gets you crying, yeah, glasses. Like, you know, one arc could be okay, one arc has them going into you know, the sky, you know, and like exploring like what's up there. You know, another arc has them going below the ocean and exploring, you know, under the ocean. Another arc is like a pirate game arc, you know, where like, you know, they're challenged to these, you know, it's not a life or death match, it's like a match of like honor between pirates and stuff. Like each arc has something that's like totally different, and it's always really fun to kind of see like what like one of the most recent arcs is literally a spin on like Disney, imagine like Disney musicals
What?
and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. It's like what? And it's like, yep, like, you know, Oda's playing on like, you know, different like fun like Disney references and stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, Vil,
And
you can't do this to me.
one of the characters has like a music number, you know, that they do, and it's out of nowhere. They're not doing it for a reason. They're not actually like doing a show. Like no, they're like just doing it because that's their vibe. Like they, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Oh no, it's like because here's the thing, I hear about One Piece from friends that have watched it, and I know I'm missing out. I know it's good, and that's the constant struggle of it all.
You're like, darn it, like I just don't have the time for it, but also it sounds interesting. Yeah.
I'm in my own way, I'm wondering if I will be one of those folks that watches the live action and says, okay, damn it, I need to actually just watch this.
Yes.
I might wind up getting swept up in that category.
It happens. So that's what I'm
kind
saying.
of want to. That part of me says, you know, maybe I just need that push, and we'll see how that goes. Also, I've missed a couple follows at BLove3000, Sky 6000, and Glasses Cune. Thank you for the follows.
Yay! Thank you for following VTuber Talk.
But, the general sentiment of people watching the trailer and saying, okay, this looks like it has potential, seems to be the relative consensus that even on YouTube that relatively big folks have watched and said, okay, this looks like it has potential. Everyone remains skeptical because the Cowboy Bebop trailer and other ones have looked okay too and haven't done well.
Bad.
But then there have also been plenty of others that we saw the trailer and knew from the trailer that was going to be bad. So it's past the first test. It's not in the clear, but it's at least going. It seems like people are going to watch the weekend of release, and that people are going to see, and it's then going to be the question, okay, after that first couple of days, once word gets out, what is it actually like? Does it fizzle or does it pop off? Because I feel like it's going to be, well, I don't even know if it's going to be one or the other, because I feel like Bebop, it kind of just fizzled. It that more people said they didn't like it than liked it.
Yeah.
So, some people did like it, that it had a mixed enough thing that it sort of just didn't even go anywhere really.
Yeah.
But I think that One Piece is going to have a strong reaction one way or the other, and just, you know, like I said, I'm hoping it would be so cool if this is finally the one, that for all the things to finally have that Iron Man moment, for it to be
nice.
One Piece. It would be really nice, but goodness knows, you know.
Oh, it could go the other way, obviously.
It could go sideways, but from what I understand, Oda has been, pretty involved. That I heard that he actually took a couple weeks off to be on set. That he wasn't,
Yeah,
they were filming for months, and he was not on set consistently. But that he
Yeah.
actually took a couple of weeks off from doing the manga to be on set and to oversee things, and that he has had a unusually large hand in the adaptation, and like you mentioned, everything from the casting to just overseeing scripts and changes, and that he's been very adamant that
Yeah.
he would not let it see the light of day until he was happy with it, and
So
that he apparently is. So here's
Yep.
hoping.
So hopefully, and something that I actually also love the idea of is that if it's not, if it's not 100% One Piece, like obviously they need to make some changes. That's fine. I'm telling you, if it becomes a Pirates of the Caribbean mixed with One Piece vibes and characters,
That's
I
not
will be so
necessarily a
happy.
failure.
I will love that, because I love Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm not gonna lie, from what I saw from the trailer, I kind of got some Pirates of the Caribbean vibes.
I watched it and was like, well, that's sort of the low-hanging fruit for pirate live-action stuff, because
But-
obviously it's the most successful
Yeah.
pirate movie series that we've had. So I feel like a lot of things that if it has pirates and ships in
For sure, it's
that
an easy
relative time
comparison.
era, that it's an easy comparison. But at the same time, we haven't had anything to fill that particular void in a couple of years. Goodness knows Pirates itself hasn't done it.
Nope.
So
Listen, the first 3
yeah.
movies are good. After
Mhm.
that, yeah.
I have not seen anything past the first 3, and from what I hear, I don't need to.
Nope, you don't. You're good.
But yeah, if
Um,
it ends up filling that particular content niche, that's not a failure either. That could be just, a fun little romp, and that could still be in its own way a success, even if it doesn't quite reach the heights that One Piece is more prolifically known for.
Yeah, I would love that. Yep. So thanks for letting me go on a One Piece rant for a while.
Yeah. Like, if you had to distill why you love One Piece, what would you say that factor is?
Oh, geez.
And I recognize that is a very difficult question I just gave you.
It is. Okay. If I had to give a single kind of reason, I think I would have to say it's this feeling of like the love that the characters have for each other, like specifically the Straw Hats, and also the way that they stand up for what they believe in. That influenced who I am today. I am the way I am because of One Piece. So, like the fact that like Luffy always stands up for people who, can't stand up for themselves, and always goes out of his way to help people. And it's not because he's a hero. He actually, that's something that's explained, like he states very clearly throughout the series, is that he doesn't see himself as a hero, nor does he want to be. But he ends up being a hero in most of these arcs because he's a good person, and he just happens to do what he thinks is right. He befriends a lot of people, and when those people are suffering, when his friends are suffering, he does what he can to help them. And if that means, if what helps his friend is overthrowing a government that is, oppressing them and actively hurting them and other innocent people, then guess what? He's going to overthrow that government, and obviously that's not something that directly, I haven't overthrown any governments in my,
At least not that we can prove.
time. Not that we can prove. But the point is that, going to great lengths to help your friends and to stand up for what you believe in, that is something that, definitely stuck with me. And also just wanting to, show my love and appreciation for friends. I'm a very affectionate person. And so, and I'll also say with my words, like how I feel about people, and I'll be, direct about that. And, so I think One Piece has definitely influenced me there, and it's also kept my imagination and creativity alive. And another random thing is I actually really looked up to Sanji. Um, and Sanji, while being a bit of a womanizer, also always like basically went out of his way to like protect women and to you know, I would say this was when he wants. Sanji is a perverted character, and that's part of like his Oda's humor. But also, when he wants to be, Sanji is also a very chivalrous and like, you know, polite and like good character. Where like, you know, if a woman is crying, he will like run across the sea in order to get to them and to, you know, do what he can to, you know, help them and stuff like that. And so, you know, I always looked up to him in ways of like, you know, just like how to treat others and stuff like that. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of One Piece, honestly, that like has influenced me. And I think no matter what, it will always be part of who I am.
I'm hoping for you and the other fans that, like I said, while I don't think it's designed for fans or not necessarily should be, I do hope that you and other One Piece fans do love it. That's the best case scenario. That's the happiest ending. And
yeah,
you know, fingers crossed. And we'll find out in, I think it's end of August that it comes out.
I think it might be. I don't know.
I know it's in July or end of August. I know.
Yeah, it's in August. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited for August.
Yeah. Also, Abdo323333, thank you for the follow.
Thanks for the follow.
One game that you mentioned you're a big fan of, and you don't actually play that many games on stream, but when we were talking earlier and I asked, you know, do you have any games that are really meaningful to you? The first series that was out of your mouth, Animal Crossing.
Yes. I think, did you mention that you were also a fan of Animal Crossing?
Big fan of Animal Crossing.
Okay,
played every iteration since the GameCube.
Love that.
So, what do you have a particular story with Animal Crossing that, if memory serves, you have also played all the way since way back in the day?
Yes. So the best memory I have, two specific memories. One is me asking my parents to get Animal Crossing because I saw ads for it, and
Animal Crossing ads were so good.
Oh, they were amazing.
Like,
yeah,
these live action, you know, people in sort of mascot suits just wreaking havoc on each other. And this is, you know, at that point in time, the farming sim slice of life gaming market had not hit stateside.
It really didn't exist. Yeah,
really was the first one that got North American audiences. That it wasn't the first ever in the genre, but it was the first one to get to the West and succeed.
And I think it is what sparked my love of like life sim games.
Mm-hmm.
But so I asked my parents, and they decided, you know, they said they'd get it for me. And I was in the car after they picked me up from school, and they're like, "Hey, so we got that game for you, but are you sure this is the game? Like it doesn't look like a game you'd be interested in, because, you know, I guess growing up as a boy, you know, it just didn't look very like, it wasn't like an action shooter. It wasn't like a cool, you know, hip game. It looked kind of like a cutesy game that might be something, you know, more akin like for girls." And I was like, "Nope, that's what I want." Like, yep, that's what I want. And they're like, "Okay, cool." And so they got me the game, and they also got me a little guidebook. And yeah, I played it, obviously loved it. And so that was funny. But then another memory I have with that game is a friend and I figured out that you could live in the same town if you switched, because you could have up to 4 people living in the same town. That you couldn't multiplayer. You couldn't play at the same time. But if you switched accounts, like you selected a different player in that game, you could technically live in the same house. So what we did is every week we would trade you know, memory cards.
Memory cards?
Yeah, we would swap memory cards and we would play in the same town. And it was so much fun because every week we'd come back and we would see what the other person did differently.
I don't think I've
That
ever heard of someone playing Animal Crossing that way because obviously I've heard of people playing on the same memory card because
yes,
that was the design intent. But the concept of okay, we each have our own town for the memory card that we own, but then we are going to swap memory cards each week, and that you kind of have this extra discovery phase of all right, I'm looking around. What's my friend done in the past week? What's
yep.
changed? Has anyone moved in? Has anyone moved out? Has the shop upgraded? What's going on over here? And that's a really intriguing way to play. And like I said, I don't think I've ever heard of somebody taking that approach, but you as soon as you said it, it's like, oh, that's so cool. That's such an interesting extra layer.
It was a really fun time just because, yeah, like looking back, like obviously you don't realize how wholesome it is in a moment, but yeah, looking back, like it really is such a cute thing because it's like, yeah, we were just like having fun with each other and we would leave surprises for each other. Like we would dig things, like in the town for you to find later, or we would even try and trick each other with like the pitfalls.
Ah, yes.
Um, we would yeah, like upgrade the shops or get new, towns members. We would write new things on the bulletin board because you could write things on that bulletin board. um yeah, there was just always something new to do, and so the fact it basically was a new game every week. um
That's so cool.
and I can't imagine playing that game any other way because like
Because that was the first one that, and really the only one that didn't have multiplayer, because after that you had Wild World and you had Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. And while Nintendo Wi-Fi
exactly.
connection was, shall we say, unreliable, it was still something, and that you were able to do some really cool stuff of being able to visit people's towns across the world. I remember going on to the GameFAQs forums and, looking for trades and different things like that. The earliest turnip exchange,
Yep.
things of that nature, but that you were able to essentially emulate that in the
Yep.
initial
In that first
iteration.
game.
That's really cool.
I'm actually really annoyed though because I am sad that they haven't figured this out. That they never did this where yes, there's online play, in the new games and all that stuff, but it annoys me that they never took it a step further where yes, you can join your friends' islands or their town and go visit them and stuff like that. But I don't want that. I want to be able to live in my friend's town. And so I don't see why they couldn't do like a online Animal Crossing where it's
Online
like,
shared state town.
yeah, exactly. Cause like that, and I get that that might be more difficult or that would require this or
That
that,
requires servers is the thing, because then you
but
need to have
like,
something up that is
yes,
maintaining all of those towns.
yeah. And so I understand that that's a more Herculean task and blah blah blah. But I'm just saying, like, man, I'm telling you, people would love that.
Oh
That
yeah,
would be
if they
so much
find a
fun.
practical way to program and maintain that, and like I said, the big thing, I don't think it's the tech, I think it's the server cost
Yeah, I
of
think you're
being
right.
able to
Yeah.
maintain that, and that also, inevitably the servers would go down, and that is something that's kind of unthinkable.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, but that's like my ideal Animal Crossing game.
Yeah, I love the concept, and it makes me wonder, all right, is there a happy medium? Is there a way to have that shared state but also still have your local copy? So if when inevitably the servers would be shut down, whether it be in 5 years or 20 years, that
Yeah,
people would still have everything
their
on
islands.
their card and wouldn't have to worry about it, just vanishing into the ether.
Yeah,
That I could see that. I don't think it's unrealistic. It would just you would need to have that fallback of still maintaining the local copy, and I have no idea what that would entail technologically, but it would certainly be more. But
yeah,
like I said, I love the concept. That'd be really cool.
yeah. But I've always loved Animal Crossing. Absolutely.
My two big stories with Animal Crossing. So the way I found it, and this isn't one of the two stories, is just a friend showed it to me, and that I was at his place, and that it was one of the most fun experiences I ever had watching someone play a game. of just seeing them go throughout the town and all the different funny dialogue and things. There was just something so cool about it,
Yeah.
and that's how I got it. The first big memory I have with it is that I grew up with 2 dogs, and when I was in high school, they both had to be put down within about 3-4 months of each other. They were very old.
Oh.
They had lived very full lives. It was not a shock.
Okay. Well, that's good.
In either case, and we're pretty sure that the second sort of in part died of a broken heart because the two had been together
Aw.
for the vast majority of their lives. So it was a rough couple of months, but one was like 14, 15, and the other was rescued that we'd had for 13, so we didn't know their exact age, but they lived very good lives.
Okay.
But
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
and when they passed, that one of the things I did was I went on the Animal Crossing Wild World boards and commissioned someone. Come to think that, I guess it'd be the first time I ever commissioned someone, that I asked someone to do a simple little just 2x2 square mural of the two of them, and I paid them $1 million bells for it.
Oh, that's
And
so
it was
sweet.
like
Oh my
super
God.
simple art. It was nothing really complex, but it was nice. But then about a year or so later, we decided to get a new dog, and we were bouncing around ideas for the name, and we were just shooting ideas back and forth, and I start listing off my Animal Crossing villagers,
Yeah.
and the name Lily stuck. So we had a dog that was named after the
Aw.
frog in Animal Crossing, and she has since passed. But then when New Horizons came out, I went out of my way to get a Lily amiibo so I could get her in my town.
Oh, I love that. That's so wholesome.
And then the second part, and I've told this
Yeah.
story a couple of times, Animal Crossing is one of the major factors that is responsible for VTuber Talk's existence. And that is
wow, okay.
because in early mid 2020, when everything was shutting down and late night talk shows were transitioning to remote, a guy named Gary Whitta, who is a Hollywood writer. He's best known for doing the script for Book of Eli and Star Wars Rogue One. He's also done a couple things with different comics and has written a novel or two of his own. Obviously, Hollywood had shut down, and a lot of people were playing Animal Crossing because I don't know if you remember that New Horizons was initially supposed to release in October of 2019, and it got delayed.
Yeah.
And
So I remember everyone blasted through New Horizons because with shutdown, everyone had way more free time than
it was in the right place at the right
was
time.
expected. Yeah.
Like that game was there when the world needed it most. That I had social gatherings with friends I hadn't spoken with in 3-4 years on Animal Crossing during those first couple of months. And people had graduations, people had funerals in Animal Crossing. That it became Animal Crossing is the first metaverse.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
And that
absolutely is.
it was there when we needed it most. What Gary Whitta did, because he was bored and loved late night talk shows, he set up a talk show set in his basement and started streaming and had a couple of friends on. And then a couple people started hearing about it. And because he's worked in Hollywood and has a couple of connections, he was able to start getting a couple guests on. And it blew up. He had coverage in Variety, Entertainment Weekly, you name it. He had Josh Gad, Matt Mercer. He had Brie Larson, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox. By the end of it, he was having Selena Gomez, who announced, I think she announced a new album by accident on his show. And like he had a couple bands do premieres on this show in Animal Crossing. Half of them had their own Animal Crossing accounts and characters. Half of the time, Gary's wife would make a character avatar and just sort of puppet them, do emotes, but that he ran a talk show in that game over Twitch. And it became appointment viewing for me for a while. The last time Animal Talking aired was October of 2020. I fall into the VTuber rabbit hole September of 2020.
Oh, wow.
Late December 2020, I'm, waist deep in the VTuber rabbit hole. And I'm deciding, all right, I have a lot of time on my hands right now because it looks like we're still going to be inside for a while.
Yeah.
And I bounce around in my head, what do I want to do? And one of the first things I decide is I don't want to be a VTuber. I don't quite have the time to commit to a regular streaming schedule. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier, funny enough, I didn't have a concept for a model or a design. It was just like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I can't think of anything. That's part of why to this day, I don't have anything that represents myself because there's just never been anything that clicked for me for what I would want to be anyways. But then I thought of animal talking. And I thought of some of the things that I do in my real life in terms of coordination, communication. Goodness knows I'm an extrovert. I love talking to people and getting good conversations. And I thought about animal talking and said, maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
So that's part of why blank talk, animal talking, VTuber talk, that's half of the inspiration of the name and just the format of it. The pre-interview that I do with all my guests is because Gary mentioned in passing on one of his shows that he does pre-interviews, and it's like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. He didn't even mention how he ran his pre-interviews, just in passing that he did that. And that's been, since episode 1, something that I've done, something that I have said is my not-so-secret sauce. And that's all because he was doing something in Animal Crossing during those early months, and that became the spark, or at least one of the major sparks for VTuber Talk.
That's really cool. I love that.
That when I commissioned ARKHAND to do the theme song intro for VTuber Talk last year, I sent him the animal talking theme song. It was like something like this. That was one to sort of pay homage, but also because I genuinely really liked what they had. That I actually approached the composer of the animal talking theme song and inquired about the licensing rates, and for an unmonetized channel, it was too much. And I was, it was like your work, I cannot justify that cost, and I'm not going to ask you to lower your rates because composers and artists deserve to be paid, and that it was just, I cannot pay that. I am sad, but moved on. But that when I commissioned a new one, that I asked that to sort of be a reference point. Yeah, Animal Crossing means a lot.
Yeah, no, that's amazing that it inadvertently led to your VTuber journey.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. I love Animal Crossing, but it certainly did not lead me to VTubers. So it's cool that we both love it, but it kind of
in some ways, I look back and say Gary Whitta, for all intents and purposes, qualifies as a VTuber during Animal Talking.
Yeah, no,
he's streaming
you're right.
using a virtual avatar. It is not one that is using VTube Studio or any specific motion tracking software, but
it's a character.
It's a character. It's a little bit more than a PNG, and that whether or not he knew it at the time, Gary Whitta was a VTuber.
Well, the funny thing is that because you can do little emotes in Animal Crossing,
mm-hmm.
So
and he used them.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine it's very similar to how we use toggles, right?
Yep.
So that's amazing. No, you're right. I didn't even think of it like that.
So I guess I actually fell into the VTuber rabbit hole even earlier than I realized.
You did, absolutely.
Another game series that I don't get to talk about a lot with folks that I know you enjoy, and that a couple people have been very excited to see announced about. It got a re-release recently, was Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah, oh my god. Well, and I'll mention this right at the beginning. For anyone who knows what Mega Man Battle Network is, think about it. NetNavis are just VTubers. Or VTubers are NetNavis. I mean, listen, we're not AI and we're not assistants. However, we are virtual characters who you can talk to and, I mean, listen, if you ask me to look something up, I guess I could do it for you. I mean, but but I mean, but like, I think that kind of led me to just thinking that's super cool. That concept of like these interesting characters, in this virtual world. Maybe it made me predispositioned to enjoying the concept of VTubers.
And that the net navis, while they are not they aren't the people who are operating them, they aren't the actual humans,
Yeah,
they are not stand-in avatars, they are
they're
their
technically
own
programs.
sentient,
Yeah.
yeah, but they are their own sentient things. But goodness knows, all of the net navis carry characteristics of their operator,
Yes.
that they share their similarities, and that they are in their own different ways, either representations, exaggerations, or just
Parts of them. Yeah.
parts of them, that it's not total random, that Lan is very close to Mega Man. Roll is very close to, I'm blanking on her name, but
Melu.
Melu, thank you. But that you see that throughout the series, and that those parallels of VTubers and the people behind the VTubers is definitely something that it has those striking similarities.
Yeah.
So I guess that means that your net navi would be a crab, but
Yeah, it'd be a crab man. There you go.
oh, there you go, crab man.
Yeah, but no, I mean actually, if anything, I think Liv would be the operator and I would be the
Oh my
the
gosh,
net
I never
navvy.
even thought about
Yeah,
that.
right.
And if anything, because yours makes the most sense, since, like you were saying earlier, that Liv is a distinctly separate character from you. So that scans.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, no, I would love that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, no, I always really liked Mega Man Battle Network. It just, I mean, the gameplay was fun, but also I really enjoyed the characters and the concept of net navis. It actually originally, I thought maybe that game would make me want to do research into AI technology.
That's the AI I want in the world.
Exactly, not the AI that we see now today, or at least the way it's used. But and then obviously as I got older and I realized how much math there is that goes into AI technology and stuff, I was like, you know what, maybe it's not for me. I'm okay.
That's really funny, Bill, because growing up I wanted to make video games, and
Same.
I took a coding class and realized
Yep.
very quickly that I did not want to be a programmer, and that I did not want to do anything with code or stuff of that nature. And I fell back on marketing. It was like, well, I did all these other things. Like, when it came to fundraisers for the band and drama club, that I was always pretty involved in. I was good at coordinating. I was good at communicating. Like I said, I'm an extrovert, and that I sort of honed in on marketing as something that incorporated those different things. And that it's because I realized I didn't want to do that type of tech that I fell into marketing, and wanted to then, do marketing with a focus on gaming and other content and things that I like, because goodness knows every company needs marketing. So at least I had that going for me.
Yeah, of course.
But that's how I wound up there. So another actual IRL parallel for you and me of just how we wound up where we wound up.
Yeah. No, I love the fun. So yes, I also took a programming class in high school, a game programming class, and I created if anyone has ever played Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, I wish I had this program still. I definitely don't. But imagine this: I made a Ace Attorney video game that was based on Pokemon. So you would be playing a Pokemon battle, but the Pokemon you chose were the different, like, you could choose a prosecutor and you could choose a defense attorney, one of the characters, whoever you wanted to play, and then you would fight against another character, and you had your options of choosing different, objection, take that, hold it, stuff like that.
I want this crossover now. We've had Leighton Phoenix Wright,
Right?
which was delightful. Yeah. But now I want Pokemon in Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, and so some of the moves would be like, objection would be your damage move. I think like hold it would be like, it would heal you for a percentage. Take that would be like a defensive move or something, or I forget. But
like
yeah,
counter almost.
Counter, yeah, yeah, exactly. So each move would be, something different, and yeah, I had a lot of fun making that. I have good memories of that. But even though I liked making that, I was also like, okay, but like now I realize how much math goes into it, and obviously if I want to make a real game, not just like a short little demo, I realized, oh no, this would that would be a lot of work that I would not have fun doing.
I took a Java class and I wasn't terrible at it. I got a B in it.
That's good.
But at the same time, it was like I'm really good at puzzles and math and logic and stuff. And that to this day, if you give me a block of code, I can probably read through that block of code and tell you what it's supposed to do. But for whatever reason, writing code just never really clicked with me. And I realized that I did not enjoy that or have a level of proficiency or something that I wanted to pursue long term. So glad I took that in high school and was able to realize pretty early on and pivot accordingly. But yeah, I think everyone should take a coding class just to get an idea of what goes into things and have a frame of reference there. And, that can then help someone decide if computer science is or isn't for them.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy I took those courses, but also I'm glad I realized, I think it's cool. I have a good appreciation for it, but it's not for me. I also took a like website coding class, I think, in college, and for one of my assignments, we had to make a fake website. And so the fake website I made was, if anyone's ever seen, I forget what it's called, but like the Adventures of Bill and Ted or whatever.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Yes, thank you. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I created a website that was all based on that and referenced that. And it was just really, really funny. Like you'd click on something, you'd be like, radical dude, do like a little guitar riff or whatever. Excellent. Yeah. It was really funny. So it was very memey site, but the fact that I made it, I was like,
beautiful.
Did this, yeah.
And Battle Network, like I mentioned, it recently got a re-release of 1 through 6. It's one that I'm sad hasn't had a proper new entry in a while because I don't particularly enjoy the classic Mega Man format.
Same, unfortunately.
But I love Battle Network, and that for those who aren't familiar with it, that it's kind of difficult to describe because there's not a really good parallel for it.
Yeah.
That it is real-time strategy, but also almost a fighting game plus a deck builder. It's that you have a 3x3 grid on your side, a 3x3 grid on the opponent's side. You make a deck of chips, which are different attacks, and that you get a hand of like 5 of them, and that you can do different combos and different attacks, but you have to have the timing down. So it's a very difficult concept to describe, but in practice, it is actually very approachable. That's one of the things I think the game did really, really well, that even if you didn't understand the deeper intricacies and strategies, that it was a very approachable game, and that the nitty-gritty of it wasn't actually that complex, that it wasn't nearly as complex as some RPGs.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had the time for it, unfortunately. I played through a little bit of 1, but I would like to eventually play through all 6. And man, it's just like, I love those games so much. It's such a big nostalgia trip. And
they have great music, great stories, great characters.
And it made me really happy that they did those re-releases, because man, if we ever have any chance of getting more from that series, this was it. Like, hopefully, having it, so people, buy it, having it be pretty popular for a while. I know people kind of have stopped talking about it since the first 2 weeks it came out, but I hope that there was enough love for the game that it made Capcom be like, oh, so maybe we can do something with this series. Because I just hate that they kind of locked it up, and I hope they do something.
Yeah, and we're seeing that with a couple of series that, Ace Attorney hasn't had an entry in a while, but they just announced that they're going to release the Apollo Justice trilogy on Switch, which I have not played. I've played the original Ace Attorney trilogy and that is it. I haven't played the Miles Edgeworth trials. I haven't played Apollo Justice. I know that they are very, very good, but part of the issue
Yeah, I love the
with
Apollo Justice games. Yeah.
yeah, but part of the issue with the Ace Attorney games is they didn't actually have a very wide physical release in the U.S. That they were sort of
No,
a
yeah.
gamble by Capcom, and they sort of found their bearings between games like 2, 3, and 4,
Yep.
and it's gotten a cult following since. And obviously, Objection remains a evergreen gaming meme to this day. That that has broken into public consciousness. Even if you've never played an Ace Attorney game, you know what Ace Attorney is because you know Objection.
Oh
But
yes, which
yeah,
is funny that it's amazing that like managed to break into like the mainstream consciousness.
yeah, and it's very much carried it since then. That has become iconic in its own way. And I agree with you that just like Battle Network, that if there's any chance of us getting another Battle Network game, the re-release is sort of them doing a market test and figuring out how many people actually still care about this. That even if there is that vocal minority of fans, how many are actually going to buy it and go out of their way to support this in a way that they don't need to, spend the money to design an entirely new game, but can do that. And I think it is a very similar thing that we're seeing with Apollo Justice.
Yeah. Yep. And I hope it continues to be popular because I really, really love Ace Attorney. And I'm glad that they have still been making games slowly over time. I know it's been a while, but yeah, I adore those characters in a similar way that, I've honestly, I cannot really compare it to One Piece because like my love for One Piece is so deep, but like I will say that Ace Attorney was among one of the first games that I really got attached to, like all the characters and the story and stuff like that. So I would say Ace Attorney is among like some of my top favorite game series. Absolutely.
Have you seen the live action One Piece movie? It was only released in Japan.
The live action One Piece movie?
Sorry, not
No.
one. My bad. Not One Piece
Oh,
movie. Ace Attorney movie. Ace Attorney
Ace
movie.
Attorney. No, I've seen snippets of it on YouTube, but no, I have not seen it.
It is, in my opinion, one of the best live action game adaptations we have ever gotten. Period.
Wait, really? Are you saying I
It's
should check it out?
it's legitimately good.
Okay,
That
I'll look it up.
that
Wow, I didn't
they
know that.
cover the first game up through DL6. They don't get the Damon Gant case, which was added for the DS release,
Okay.
but they go through the first 4 cases, the entirety of the original first game.
Yeah.
And they do it very well. That they have their fun. That there are certain moments that they have Phoenix make a bad joke and everyone in the gallery falls out of their seat. Like the actual comedy,
Yeah.
the over the top anime reaction, that they sprinkle just 1 or 2 of those in, and that's actually iconic and emblematic of Ace Attorney. That the characters are over the top. They are silly. They have absurd puns for names, but they also have the drama, and that the cast understood the assignment. That it was really, really good.
That's awesome. I can't wait. I really actually now you've given me something I want to go check out. So thank you for telling me.
Yeah, they only ever did that single movie. I think they did a couple stage shows,
Yeah.
but never did the later games. But for that singular entry, like I said, they understood the assignment.
That's awesome. I definitely want to check it out.
Hopping topics a little bit,
Yeah.
you mentioned marketing and branding and everything, and apart from the crab, the big thing about your branding is vaporwave.
Yes. Oh my
Where
God.
does the interest in vaporwave begin? Because vaporwave is this really interesting concept in that you can't, or at least not that I know of, point to a specific piece of media per se that necessarily popularized it. It is a vibe. It is an aesthetic.
It just
It
kind
is
of
not.
exists. Yeah.
I don't even know necessarily the history of where it begins, and without having to dig into all that history, for your personal history, where does vaporwave for you begin?
So for me, I think it begins as kind of like it was always kind of an aesthetic I was aware of, right? Because a lot of vaporwave comes from the like 80s and 90s vibe. Um, but I think where it came from was just kind of this love of like that weird, if you've ever seen like the old Taco Bells, you know, where it'd be all that kind of like 90s aesthetic with like the white, the blue and the purple. And
Yeah,
actually here, if you kind of want a bit of that vibe right now, let me bam, we'll switch to Liv's
yeah.
other outfit.
Well, and you also have the cup.
Yep, and we also have the cup design and the headphones, you know, the vaporwave sunset. Yeah, so I always just really liked those colors and the vibe of like, if you've ever seen those kind of weird ethereal things with like statue heads, you know, and like marble statues, and like 90s computer like backgrounds and stuff, and like there's so many like really random things that all just kind of get mashed together. Some of it also has some like is steeped in like Japanese like vibes as well, like Japanese writings, and like also like neon lights and stuff like that.
Has some tangential relations to city pop.
City pop, yep, exactly. And Carmine, thank you so much. I'm glad you like the design. Here, I'll even zoom out for everybody to kind of take a look at the full thing.
I always forget you have the cassette player.
Yeah, the cassette player on the thigh. I can show that off in a sec. But see, we got like the shoes. We got the shoes. We've got
the palm tree.
The player. Yep, the palm
Hot
tree.
90s.
Hot 90s. Yep. We got Liv's you know, like windbreaker. That's what it's called. We got the here, I can take off the hoodie. There you can see the full design of the it's so that's called jazz wave, for anyone
Okay, because
wondering.
I knew that there was a technical term for that design. So it's jazz wave.
Jazz wave. Yep. I didn't know that until looking it up, so I don't expect anyone else to know. But yes, that's called jazz wave. And yeah, so I've always just really liked this kind of design. And then as I got older, I started hearing vaporwave music. I knew about vaporwave as an aesthetic before, and I was never super interested in it. I liked how it looked, but I wasn't like I connected with it, you know, immediately. But then I got older, and I moved out to California for 5 years. And I really enjoyed it out there. But while I was out there, you know, I dealt with some hard times, you know, like you know, finding a job. And even when I did find a job, you know, just kind of feeling like listless and like missing like home and friends. You know, I still had friends in California, but you know, you still miss your old friends, and you're away from family. You know, I didn't have any family in California. So I think I just had this feeling of like nostalgia, right? Like I had this longing feeling, and vaporwave, as both an aesthetic and a music, is like all about that nostalgic feeling. It really evokes that feeling out of you. I mean, you can even see it here in my background. Like we have like an older car, you know, that I'm sure like people recognize. The classic boombox, the city, you know, scape, the star, you know, stars in the sky, the palm trees. Like, I don't know, it's all very like dreamy, and you know, fills you with that feeling of nostalgia.
Yeah, it's a really interesting combination of listless yet very peaceful.
Yes, exactly. And so in a way, it's weird because like, I guess for some people, nostalgia like that could be a sad thing. You know, it can make you miss things from the past. But for me, it gave me comfort and yeah, I don't. It's hard to explain. It just made me feel um, like at peace. And so one of my favorite things to do when I was in California, and I still love doing it even now. I moved. I grew up in the Midwest, and so I moved back there. But um, something I love doing in California, and I now do, now that I moved back here, is night drives. I love driving
Mm,
at night and listening to vaporwave, and just kind of like driving and just relaxing and vibing, and just kind of getting my head in that zone, and just like, because also I have general anxiety, um you know both socially and, like I said, generally. And so my brain is like always thinking about a lot of stuff. I also cannot confirm, I'm not diagnosed. However, based on what I've seen people say online and just my own friends, it's also likely I have ADHD. So my brain is just always kind of going. Like, I'm always thinking about either things I need to do, um, stressing about things I haven't done that I should be doing, um, thinking about the next big project, figuring out, what do I have to do today? What do I have to do tomorrow? Like, so I just am always worrying or thinking about something. And so the fact that I can like get in my car and just drive and just listen to music and kind of like turn my brain off in a way, right? And just kind of like relax. I found that is one way that I can really like filter out my thoughts a little bit, if that makes sense.
mm. And in that vein of its own type of nostalgia, peacefulness, and just uh, a unique vibe, you also
Yeah.
enjoy liminal spaces, and that goodness knows
Yes.
one of the I would call the liminal space of our time, malls.
Yeah.
Just malls that have fallen into not disarray, but just ones that have either shut down or ones that are on the precipice of closing. That there are still a couple of malls, a couple of big
Yep.
ones that are, dotted around the country that do very well, have consistent business, and they are as lively as they were in the 90s and 2000s. But the number of malls has dwindled significantly, and that only the strong have
Yep.
survived. And that I think most people know of at least one in their area that, if you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, that was a go-to place that was very lively once and is now either gone completely physically, or just nothing is there, or maybe it has one or two anchor stores that somehow continue to survive because the owner of the property hasn't found a way to sell it off yet.
Yeah.
But I know there are a couple where I grew up, that aren't there anymore, but that I was able to walk through, in their dwindling days, or in the days immediately after their official close, but they were still technically open to the public, to just sort of walk around in that. It's kind of eerie in its own way, especially if it's something that you did grow up with, and that
Yep.
it's very melancholic, but it's also sort of cool because in their own ways they are like their their own relics or memorials, or just being able to walk those halls and be like, I remember when this store was open, I remember that store, friends and I would always go here to eat. And that it is a very unique sensation going through them, and that you actually have a 90s mall background that you had as part of your debut, of just a lot of the classic staples, but that you don't have anybody in the background. It is an empty mall.
Yeah. I love empty malls. I think they're some of the coolest things. Like, so I unfortunately can't show you here, but if anyone ever goes to visit my stream, I have two backgrounds, this being one of them, and the other one is actually in a mall that I call Paradise Mall. But yeah, no, malls are also a huge, they're important to me. One, I grew up with them, so I always have good memories of going with my family and friends to the mall. Um, but also, even now today, I know that there's a lot less reason to go to the mall, and most of them are dying. But even dead malls, I think, are the coolest things. And honestly, I'm really sad that um, they're going away. Um, Part of me would love to keep some of them as like historical sites, just like as like a freeze frame in time, you know. Um, but also I hope in the future that we're able to find a way to have a resurgence of um, malls. I think that they're obviously everything is much more centered around the convenience of having things delivered and ordered online. So I understand why malls are, obviously not needed as much anymore. But if we can, find a way, I don't know whether like if we could fill these malls up with like small businesses, like little, you know, places that like can't.
Offices and whatnot. The trouble with malls that makes them so difficult to preserve is their
Yeah.
scale. That you
Oh,
can
for
make
sure,
a
yeah.
historical site if it's a little cottage, if it is a small or even
But it's like a
tall building.
huge building.
But
Yeah.
malls are wide, generally not tall, and it is so difficult to justify,
Keeping it. If it's
hundreds
not.
upon hundreds of acres of land for something that is going to be completely and utterly empty, when you could do, any number of things with that amount of space. That if you could preserve a chunk, you could, but
Yeah.
you can't even do that. That you can't break apart 90% of the mall and then just have this little awkward chunk still standing.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. I think if there's going to be any resurgence of mall or mall-like spaces,
Yeah.
that you have to do the things that you can't get online. So it's not shops, it is experiential businesses. So movie theaters, which end up still being sort of the anchors of malls, that maybe one
Yep.
or two anchor department stores, but then you have places that whether it be sort of like a flexible workplace, like, obviously WeWork is prolific in their own bombing, but
Yeah.
that something like that, or that it's a community center, or that you have a gym in one of those big anchor store locations, that's something that you can't do online. That you could have perhaps a game store where, people go and play D&D tabletop types of things, or just like I said, anything that is experiential, something that you have to go to the place
Yes,
and
exactly.
be part of something in person, that it can't just be retail. That retail in
Yes,
malls
agreed.
will not work anymore.
Well, and another idea that I've floated is like, imagine if they went like all in on the aesthetic. So if they imagine having a mall that like actually was like a vaporwave like 90s nostalgic mall, and it was
You could
just
get
like
one of those in the country, make it super iconic, and it becomes a destination, a tourist thing. You
exactly.
couldn't have one in
Yeah.
every city. I think
No.
there is room for one.
But I think that'd be the coolest thing. I would want that. Yeah. But so but even as they are now, like some of the dead malls, I get why they can't exist. I get why they start going away. But man, so I recently went this, and when I say recently, I mean in the past year. I went to a mall near me that had only like two businesses in it. And you know how big malls tend to be. So like two
Oh yeah.
businesses out of an entire mall is like nothing. But um I went and visited, and it was one of the coolest experience. I took a bunch of photos, and it was some of the most like bizarre, in a good way, like feelings, because in this mall it was like there was so in order to save on like light, most of the lights were turned off, so like there'd be like a
Oh
couple lights
gosh,
here and
that's
there. Yeah.
I
No.
I remember that one of the times I went to one of the malls, it was like that, and it made me question. I was like, "Are we allowed to be here right now?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it like, am I actually just trespassing?"
And so think of it like this. Okay, so you remember how malls used to be, right?
Yeah,
Like just how full
just
they were and blah blah
mhm.
blah. Okay, now imagine today with it being that empty. When we were walking around that mall, um, there was a couple who were biking in the mall, and like
Ha!
biking like the outskirts. Like when I say outskirts, I don't mean outside. I mean the outskirts of the inside of the mall, and just
Yeah,
using that as like their
just
bike route.
as a smooth bike thing, because mall walking used to be a big thing.
Yeah.
Of just, if you want to be able to get exercise, do walking that
Just walk
isn't
around
on
the
a
mall for a
treadmill
while. Yeah.
in a climate controlled environment, that
Hmm.
there would be whole groups of people that would just meet up at the mall and walk around for 2-3 hours, then go to the food court, have lunch, and hey, you've gotten your exercise for the weekend.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, no, you're totally right.
But the fact you could never do that with bikes, but
No,
when it's
and
totally
now
empty,
you
yes,
can
you
do it.
can.
Yeah, and there was no one that was gonna tell them to not do it.
Yeah.
And then so I also had the craziest idea that I didn't act on, and also it wouldn't have made sense because I'm pretty sure months later they actually condemned the building finally. So like, yeah, this wouldn't have worked. However, I wanted this so badly. So as we're leaving the mall, I notice that there's a little, like, those I don't know what you call them. Those little like standing boards where it like has like different advertisements and stuff as you're walking around.
Billboards or just
It's not really like a billboard. It's like a little like
oh, like the
it's
little
it
advertisement boards.
yeah, it's taller than it is wide, and it's about a person tall or
Banners.
so. It's like a little banner. Yeah, it's like a banner standing upright that's just like, hey, go here, like go check out this, advertising this business or whatever. Well, it was there, but it didn't have anything. And inside of it, it said, hey, if you want an advertisement, if you want to advertise here, please call this number.
Yeah, the classic space roulette.
And I was there with two of my friends, and I was looked at them, and this is when I was, it's in the past year, so I was VTubing, and I was like, listen, I know no one's gonna see it because there's only like 2 businesses in this place, but can you imagine if I called them and I was like,
had a VIL banner,
a VIL banner just in a dead mall? Like,
gosh,
that's the most on-brand thing I can possibly think of. I think that's so fucking cool because like no one would see it. But can you imagine if one random VTuber fan was just
wait a minute
mall and was like, wait a second, what is this? I'm like,
that makes me think an AR game. That's something that you could use a mall for. That
exactly
to have that be just like a giant, just sort of experiential mini theme park that if you were to build in, and that you make the mall itself the attraction, and that you have games around, that you probably couldn't do rides, but that you could actually just build in different activities, activations, what have you, that it would have to probably be a smaller mall if you were to take over the entire thing.
Yeah, of course.
But that could be something that you could use at the very least, if you bought out one of the anchor stores of one of the department store areas, that you could use that, and that could be the business, that could be the thing there.
Yeah. Can you imagine if I was the first VTuber to have an advertisement in a mall? Like, oh my god, that'd be so cool.
At the very least, it's probably cheap ad space.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why I thought it'd be funny to call them, because I imagine they'd be like, you want to advertise there? I mean, all right.
Sure, $100 a month. It's not like anyone's gonna see it.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Like, free money for me, I guess. So yeah, I'm kind of sad I didn't, because I think at the very least it would have been a fun meme to like get it done and then take a picture of it. But I think, I mean, there wasn't that much time for it, and also like the actual cost of not only buying the ad, but then also like getting
producing the ad would cost more than the space.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it. But just the idea of it was so cool. So if the opportunity ever presents itself again, I might try it. But
I know some folks have bought, highway billboards.
Yeah,
for their Oshi for their birthday. Prolifically, a couple of communities have bought out video billboards in Times Square. Times Square billboard space is surprisingly affordable. Do you know what the cost is for a minute per hour in Times Square for a day?
I remember hearing what it was and being surprised, but no, I don't remember. Please tell me.
About $5,000.
Listen, that is a lot of money, but like, that's not as much as you think it would be. Like,
a minute per hour, so it's not like you're constantly up there, but for a minute per hour per
Yeah.
day, so 24 minutes in Times Square, that's it,
That's pretty
it
good.
looks big on paper. Depending on who your target audience is, it's not actually that much.
Yeah.
If you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, that's nothing, and that will get you the number of impressions. And even if it's only for a day, the legitimacy and like it was a whole event, for those communities, and that it was just a couple people pitching in. And once you split it up amongst a community, 5,000, for goodness knows, these are big agency talents that were able to get a lot of folks to pitch in for it. That can end up being just a couple bucks per person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that's super neat. And I mean, like, I would love to, at least on the mall level, I would love to do
Yeah.
something similar in the future. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah, that would be fun. That goodness knows it would go a much longer way. That for a mall, you're probably looking at, depending on where it is, my guess would be $100 to $1,500. But
Yeah.
that's for a month nonstop. That it's not rotating, or if it is rotating, that it's going to be in a really, really prominent place, or that's just going to be the cost of having it there perpetually.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe something to look into in the future.
Yeah, maybe a subathon goal or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that sounds like a cool idea. But no, and so what's cool about exploring that dead mall I was mentioning before is the vibes are cool, and it's kind of like a I guess picture, a snapshot into the past. But also some of the places that we explored, it really did have that feeling of like, oh, we're not supposed to be here. And some of it was like, so we obviously couldn't go into like some of the rooms, but like, so the movie theater was obviously closed off. Like the movie theater had like bars down so that you couldn't go inside, but you could peek inside and even flash like a light in there, and it looked like a horror movie or a horror video game. It looked like decrepit, it was falling apart. There was parts of the ceiling that had clearly fell through, and like there was debris everywhere. Like it truly looked like,
and especially if you know what
a
it looked
horror
like in
movie.
its prime, that if you
Yeah.
have that mental image of, I know how this was, how this should be, how it was when it was alive, and
Yeah.
then to see it in disarray, and even if it's not
In
falling apart,
decay,
just
yeah.
to see it dark, uninhabited, or even worse, like you were saying, to see it actively falling apart is
Yeah.
going to be a very unique type of disturbing, because it's not, it goes beyond even a horror movie or a horror game, because usually you look into those places and okay, it's creepy, but it's so much more visceral when it is personal and you have that memory of what it was.
Yep. And I didn't get to see it. However, I will say another thing that made me very, very sad. My local movie theater where I grew up, it recently shut down completely and is going to be replaced by something else. And like I haven't lived there in a long time, and it's not like I've been to that movie theater in like over a decade probably, but there was something sad about visiting and hearing that it was officially closed and
Mm-hmm.
was going to be torn down and replaced with something else. I was just like, man, time sure does change, and like obviously I'm always aware of that, but it's weird that like that thing that you remember when you were younger is just like
Yeah.
not there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had that same thing happen to me, and it was particularly frustrating because mine shut down like late 2000s, early 2010s, really before like all this, and it was largely because the theater had fallen not into disrepair, but it hadn't been renovated in ages, because the shopping center it was in was supposed to have a broader renovation that kept getting delayed. So, they weren't going to renovate their space only to have the entire shopping center redone 2 years later. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So they say, all right, we're going to wait. And then the shopping center's revamp gets delayed. Well, it's sort of sunk cost fallacy. We're still not going to update until the thing updates. And the shopping center just kept pushing back and back and back. And it got pushed back like a total of 7-8 years. And the movie theater finally folded like a year or two before that whole place got the facelift, and it was uniquely frustrating because the location was phenomenal,
Yeah.
and that it survived longer than it should have in its state because its location was phenomenal. So to see it go in that way made me very upset. But that was still in the early days of where a lot of theaters did start to close, and obviously movie theaters are still doing relatively well. There's a good number around, but that the sheer number and the number of smaller theaters, 1 to 5 screen theaters, is much lower nowadays. And usually you're going to find places that have at least 10.
Yeah. I definitely will miss the days of like, because also I feel like obviously we can still go to the movies nowadays, right? But I feel like it's a different vibe than it was before, and like nowadays also movies are so expensive. Inflation is making everything more expensive, and now that we have the convenience of watching stuff from home, a lot less people are going to the movies. I'll say there's a couple movies that are definitely worth going to the movie theater for. Like I would say the only movie I've seen recently that I would say was 100% worth going to the movie for was Spider-Verse.
Yep.
But a lot of movies nowadays, it's like, I feel like there's a lot of movies that it's like, yeah, I'll just watch that when it comes out online. I don't need to go to the theater for that.
Yeah, there's the pluses and the minuses. That, like you said, it's cheaper to watch at home. It's more convenient to watch at home. The other thing is there are so many movies that would never be able to get shown in theaters just because they wouldn't be able to get the funding or to be able to rent out the space, get the national marketing campaign that'd be required. That streaming changed the game, and it allowed so much more content to be greenlit, period.
That's true.
And
also,
that's been huge.
God forbid you want a snack or water.
Oh gosh, I have had a personal policy. I never buy concessions at theaters. One is because it is obscenely expensive, and just no, I'm not going to pay that much for candy. But also, it then makes sure that I don't have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the film.
That's true. I'll buy popcorn because I always want popcorn, and I might get a slushie because I do really like slushies. But no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, obviously the prices are jacked, and you're going to be spending quite a bit of money if you're going to be getting more than a ticket at the movie theater.
Yeah, but the other thing that makes it really tricky nowadays is that the movie-going public in general does not go for a lot of new stuff. That if you look at the box office winners and the films that make the most, you have to look. I was checking this out because there was the whole recent thing about the new Pixar movie Elemental, which did very poorly.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
and I went back and looked. Elemental had a $200 million budget. No original IP film in the past several years has made $200 million. Period. That anything that has crossed 200 million has been existing IP. In order to get to the first new IP film on the box office charts for 2022, I think it's like 11th or 12th place. And funny enough, the films that do best with original IP, horror.
Not surprised. Yeah.
That horror and mystery are the two genres that are able to get some semblance of traction if it's not if it is an original IP. That anything that is action, anything that is animated, it takes an anomaly to do well, and especially to actually make big box office, hundreds of millions of dollars.
So this has nothing to do with the box office, but you mentioned mysteries, and it made me immediately think of something that has become one of my favorite movie series of all time now. Oh my god, I like how I just said it's my favorite, and I can't remember what it's called.
Because I'm hoping you're saying what I think you're going to say, because I also have had one that has popped up in the past couple of years.
Knives Out.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad we were in the same spot. Good. See, we both have good taste. You said mysteries, and I was like, Knives Out, and also Glass Onion. Were both so good.
Yeah, and that Knives Out was able to hit in the box office in a way that very few films have, and be able to get that traction, and that I adore both of those films. I still
Yeah.
can't decide which I like better because I think they were done just different enough that it's actually very
They're
difficult
their
to
own
compare them.
things. Yeah.
But Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc
Oh, he's
and
phenomenal.
Ryan Johnson. It, Ryan Johnson's been through a roller coaster, goodness knows, as a director writer. He has found his calling in mystery writing. If we get a new Benoit Blanc film every 3 years, indefinitely, I will
Oh,
be
I'd be
happy.
so.
That
Yeah,
I
same.
want this to be the modern day Poirot.
Yep.
Just keep them coming. That they're unrelated. The only thing that is consistent is Blanc himself always have the new cast, and that goodness knows they've been able to get star-studded casts
Some
these
new
past two
adventure.
ones,
Yeah.
and that
Yep.
it's self-contained. Maybe we learn a bit about Blanc, but also I'm fine with just getting, we get context clues, we get fragments of things. I don't need to know much about him. All I know is that he's smart, he's cool, he's not an asshole. I do appreciate that because it's so
Yep.
frequent that you have, Sherlock Holmes is an ass. Poirot isn't an ass, but he is socially inept to the point where he comes off as abrasive. Blanc is actually very socially affable, which
Yeah.
ironically means that he's an anomaly.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing a joke about how like all the detectives are always like, you know, either like gruff or like depressed drunks, and
Hmm.
like Benoit Blanc is not either of those things.
Yeah, he's just a guy, and that he's he's able to be serious. He's able to be silly. He's having a good time in his own way. He cares about people, and that a a lot of detectives are tsunderes in that, obviously they
Yeah.
have to be likable to a point and that they have to have, in the end, the heart of gold because they're still the good guys and they're going to help, but that it's usually, like you said, they're gruff or that
I mean, he's
they're,
always a good guy.
and
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, he's just the nice guy. And goodness knows, hearing Daniel Craig talk with a southern accent is
I love that.
uniquely enjoyable.
Yeah. He's that I do declare. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he
Uh,
has that voice. And it's
eh,
so good.
there is the line in Knives Out, Kentucky Fried Foghorn Leghorn Drawl.
Yes, and I love that. And it's funny because even though the films are very modern, right? Like especially Glass Onion. Like Glass Onion was very like very clearly like, modern day setting with modern day people.
And obviously that it was particularly timely in
Yeah.
multiple ways, and that it is one of the first and certainly not the last film that will directly uh, be aware of the pandemic and the hell times of 2020 and
Yep,
2021,
yep.
but also it it used it in a way that I felt was super tasteful for its setup,
Yeah.
and by the time that Act 2 rolls around, it's in the background.
Well, and do you understand what I mean when I say that yes, it's all very modern, but it feels like it's shot like an older movie.
Yes.
The vibes feel very like, if you've ever seen like an older, you know, 80s or 90s mystery like film or whatever, like or a noir film, um I don't know, it just felt very similar in that the way it's like paced and the way it's a
Yeah.
slow burn
You
and
definitely get the
you know
impression that Ryan Johnson has a love and affinity for those types of films, and that, he's done his homework. He didn't just randomly fall into the mystery genre, that this is something that he himself has enjoyed and has taken a level of inspiration from in his own work.
Yep, yep. And I love that.
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to, whenever we get the next one. If memory serves, that I think they said they confirmed at least 2 additional after Knives Out, meaning that Glass Onion plus 1 at least. It may have been 3, I don't recall, but my fingers are crossed that it will be able to sustain
Just
itself.
yeah.
And like I said, just, it doesn't need to be every year. I don't think it should be every year, but
yes.
every 2.5, 3 years, just a nice pace like that, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, like this is it's definitely become my new favorite. Like the moment that comes out, I know it's gonna be on my list of like, well, I have to go see that day one.
Mm-hmm. A while back, you mentioned that I do like to try and bring up things that don't necessarily get brought up on my guest streams, and that it's not that it is a secret necessarily, but that perhaps they don't always have the opportunity to talk about it. That one of the most prolific instances, which you clipped actually, was when I got Vex talking about soccer, because during the pre-interview
Yeah.
that, I posed the question to all my guests in the pre-interview: is there anything that you're passionate about or that is significant to you that doesn't get brought up? And I would say 80% of the time people say, not really. I'm pretty open about all my hobbies and passions, and that's okay. And but I always throw that line out because every so often I get something in with Vex. She said, huh, you know, I've never really talked about soccer. I was like, oh, so is soccer big for you? She was like, yeah, I played for 20 years, coached, was a player, and also ref. And I was like, yeah, that seems significant.
That's pretty huge. Yep. Yep.
And
That's one reason why I clipped it, because I was like, wow, I never heard that before.
yeah, it is definitely one of the biggest reactions I've gotten for that type of sort of swerve, and that I was really excited as a host that I was able to that we were able to bring that to Vex's fans, that they were able to have that moment and discover something that was very near and dear to her heart, that just by happenstance, that for all the content and things that she does talk about, that soccer isn't exactly related. It's not something that someone is likely to bring up out of the blue for her to then sort of hop onto. It's not a direct tangent to anything.
Yeah.
So it just wound up in that bubble. And that for you, you mentioned that there's something similar, that I'm realizing that it's sports for VTubers.
It is.
That
It's so
it's
true.
not, it's something that's not going to be a secret that somebody played a sport, that's not a sensitive topic in that regard, but that for the type of things and that usually get brought up in Twitch chat, and for the type of content that VTubers and just content creators at large make, unless they are a fitness or sports centric channel, sports ends up being the blind spot, because for you it's tennis.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it maybe 2 or 3 times on my stream, but not really, and I've never talked about it in depth. But yeah, I play tennis. I haven't played in a long time, but I still love it. And I grew up playing it because my dad teaches tennis for a living.
Okay, because that was going to be the first question of, all right, where do you get your entry to tennis? And well, parent coaching tennis, that'll do it.
Yep. And both my parents have like played and even worked in tennis for a good parts of their lives. And so I was never forced to play tennis. My dad didn't want to force it on me because he knows how that is. He didn't want me to play.
Well, that's good. I'm very glad to hear that, because
yes,
you don't always get that.
No, you're right. I mean, he very easily could have just been like, "Yep, I play tennis, so you play tennis." But nope, like he always just kind of let me play at my own pace, and so I just naturally did want to play because I saw him playing it, and also I'm not an overly competitive person. However, I am a competitive person in the sense that I like competing and I like improving over time and being able to get a tangible, way
that
to
growth.
Exactly. And so yeah, I love playing sports, and I loved well, the funny thing is I did not like sports in general. I was never like a jock or anything like that, but I like competitive things, and tennis ended up being something that I enjoyed because unlike like football was very physical. I didn't like baseball. I tried when I was younger, and I got hit with the baseball once and immediately quit.
Oh no.
Yeah. But then with tennis, like, yes, you can get hit with the tennis ball, but it hurts a lot less. Unless you're
it's
like
going to
hit like
sting. It's
point
less likely
blank.
to actually knock the wind out of you, because I did play baseball for several years growing up, and I did get hit by a pitch, totally accidental,
Yeah.
but like square in the gut, wind knocked out of me the first time that had ever happened to me, and just that that did not cause me to quit. I quit because I kept getting put on teams with assholes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so it just wasn't a great time. but at the same time, I can say I've had that experience of being hit by a baseball and being hit by
Okay,
a
yeah, so you
baseball is gonna
understand.
be a bit less.
Yep. Um, and also, if my memory serves, I think I was also that stereotypical um, airheaded outfielder that would like be chasing a butterfly, basically.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So anyways, so I started playing more tennis, and I really enjoyed, yeah, that was more technical. Also, I was athletic, so I liked, running around and getting the ball, and I would chase down every ball. I never gave up on a ball.
and that it's an individual sport that, well, obviously there is doubles, but
Yes,
it
but
sounds
in
like you were
general,
doing
like,
singles.
yeah, so I did both. But with singles though, yeah, like the nice thing is that like it's all up to you whether you win or lose. And in doubles, yes, there is another player that influences, your play, but I like the sense of teamwork and camaraderie that comes with it. So even if my teammate isn't doing well, does that suck for you? Yes, but also at least there's the fun of like, hey man, don't worry about it. Like we got this. Like come on, like that kind of um it's nice to be able to like cheer each other on.
Yeah.
And so I ended up playing varsity,
Ooh.
and I was on, yeah, I played doubles varsity for most of my time, on the team. And yeah, I was really proud of myself for even making varsity. So and then unfortunately after high school, I play once in a while, just to like play with my dad or just to like pick up the racket again for fun, but I just have not had the time to like join a club
It's
or
very
like
difficult to
to,
stay involved with sports after school if you are not going pro or if you're not making a really, really dedicated effort to find some local adults group. But even then, like,
yeah.
it's difficult because, all right, what's the age range? Is there going to be people that you actually get along with? And then
Hmm.
leagues and scheduling, yada, yada, yada. It's so much easier when you have the school and that they have the system, they have the league set up,
Yes.
they take care of the coordination, and that you just sign up and you will have your matches.
And for a lot of people also, like if you do have a tennis team that you join or that you play with every week, that's like your social, that's how you spend your social time. But like for me, like my social and also just general my free time is really spent on VTubing and all listen, content creation takes a lot more than just a 9 to 5 job. Not to say it's harder than a 9 to 5 job. I just mean like because
The
you are
time
doing,
commitment, if you're actually going to go for it, is
if
going
you're
to
trying,
be a lot.
yeah, exactly. And so I spend most of my free time also working on like content creation and VTubing and stuff like that. Um, so I don't really have the time to like, go out to like a tennis league or whatever, but I still love it. And when I do get the chance to pick up a racket and play a little bit, it really feels like getting back on a bike, um, which is a horrible analogy for me to use, because that's an amazing analogy for most people because it makes sense. But I actually don't know how to ride a bike. So when I say that, yeah, it's like getting on a bike. It's like, okay, well,
Wait a second.
yeah,
How have you never learned how to ride a bike, Vil?
yeah, I just never like. So my dad tried to teach me when I was younger, but I was just a very sensitive crybaby when I was younger, and so I was terrified of the bike falling, and I just fought against him enough on learning to ride a bike that he was just
It,
kind of
it
like,
is
all right,
not an essential life skill. It
no.
isn't.
And so he was just kind of like, all right, if you don't want to learn, then that's fine. And I didn't really live in a place that had good biking anyways. I lived by a busy road and there was no like sidewalk to like even
Mm,
bike on or near. Um, there was no dedicated bike lane. And also none of my friends went biking. So like they knew how to bike, but they didn't like do it for fun
yeah,
or
it wasn't
whatever.
a
It wasn't
thing.
an activity. Um, it wasn't like I lived in a cul-de-sac where everyone rode their bikes.
Hmm.
So yeah, it just didn't come up. Wasn't like a required life skill. And then I just didn't learn as I got older. So
Yeah, that'll do it.
yeah. So it is always funny whenever it comes up, like just like because it's an easy analogy to
Yeah.
say, yeah, just like riding a bike. And I'm like, okay, well,
Well,
technically yes, but
actually,
actually, yeah. I mean, listen, there are people who don't know how to swim. I
yeah.
know how to swim, and I'm a very good swimmer.
Mm, For tennis, do you follow professional tennis at all? Is that something that you still watch even if you don't play, or is it really just something that you enjoyed playing and experiencing yourself?
I really wish I could tell you that I follow it closely, because if I had more time, I absolutely would. Um, but nope, I really don't follow the professional scene that closely. However, like even though I don't follow it or watch it like on a regular basis, if I'm ever like at a sports bar or like just like somewhere where there's a TV and if it's on, like I will watch it intently. Like I love watching it if it's on, like if you put it on in front of me, but like I won't go out of my way to watch it. I know that
Yeah.
might sound weird,
No,
but
that makes
like,
sense. That
yeah,
there's plenty of things that if it is on, if it is there, that I will watch and I will enjoy it.
yep,
But it's not necessarily that I'm going to go out of my way and seek in my free time.
yeah, exactly. So I still, I love it and I like watching it when I get the chance, but it's not something that I usually get to spend a lot of time on.
Mm, yeah, tennis is one of those that I never actually played it. Closest I ever got was Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack, phenomenal soundtrack. There's no reason that game should have as good music as it does. But
Yep.
I played baseball. I did karate for better part of 8 years. I swam. Was only on like swim team for 1 year and didn't have a good time. But learned how to swim
Oh,
very
yeah.
young, and that would go to the pool regularly at the very least with friends. Biked a little bit. Just I didn't live in a cul-de-sac, but I lived in a neighborhood where it was convenient to be able to bike to a couple friends' houses.
Okay.
Um, but tennis was just not one of them for me. But that it is a very easy game to watch, and
Yeah.
that it's up there with football. That is very viewer friendly. You don't need to know the intricacies, but if you know the intricacies, it's obviously going to be a lot more enjoyable, and that you can appreciate the nuance in it a lot more. But it's easy enough to keep up with.
Absolutely.
Okay, ball go to one side of court, cannot bounce twice.
Yeah, it's fairly easy in the way, in the rules,
Yeah.
right?
Is tennis
Um,
something that you hope to be able to find time for again, even if it is just, as a casual hobby, even if you're not getting into any leagues anymore, or do you see that as sort of
yeah.
a closed chapter?
The nice thing is that tennis is something that people could play, even into the latest stages of their lives. There's plenty of people who are 70, 80, who play tennis. And so, while I don't have the time for it now, who knows? Maybe in the future, I will have time. I hope sooner than 70 or 80. But I'm just saying in general, like I don't think tennis will ever be a truly closed chapter of my life. Am I too busy for it right now? Yes. But would I love to find time for it in the future? Absolutely. Yeah.
Come to think of it, that could be something that could fit into malls, whether it be an anchor store that has maybe 8, 10 tennis courts, or just if
Yeah.
you have one of the larger stores that has one or two, that is something that you can do in an indoor facility that obviously would have, netting up and whatnot between courts to make sure
Sure.
things
Yeah.
aren't flying between. But the tennis ball is still soft enough that, you'll put covers or something grating over the lights to make sure that it doesn't break a light bulb. But past that, if you have anything above the most basic of ceiling tiling, it's not going to go through the wall. It's not going to go through the ceiling. You can do that, and you could have that be an indoor, climate controlled type of thing. Or at the very least, you could have, which you see in some gyms of, a one-sided tennis court,
Yeah.
where people just, go to practice or things like that. So, we're slowly building up the list of businesses and activities and things
Yeah.
that you can do in your abandoned malls.
I'm glad we've got this list going. And I also did see Glasses asked, would I play a Nintendo tennis game? So the only reason why I haven't really played Nintendo games on stream before is because I don't have a capture card, and I know that you need that for to
Yeah.
play games on connect your Switch to computer or whatever. Um, but would I do it? Whether that's a Nintendo game or just a tennis game in general? Yes, I would love to play a tennis game sometime. I think that would be fun. Also, something I want to do is this is not a priority, at least the second part of what I'm going to mention here. But I would love in the future to either get or get both art of Liv in a tennis outfit. I think she would look great in that. But then also making, like, maybe if I got like an official outfit, like a rigged outfit of like Liv in a tennis outfit. I have other ideas that I think take precedence over that, but I think that would just be a cute thing in the future, to see her like in a cute
And that
tennis outfit.
there's definitely the 90s tennis look that I don't even play tennis, and I know
Right?
that tennis has its era.
I'm glad you
of
understand what I'm
fashion
saying.
that
And I'm like,
we're
yeah,
talking sweatbands. There's like, I don't even know how best to describe. Like it's just sort of like slightly baggy athletic pants, kind
Yep.
of.
or like a skirt,
Yep. Oh no, that's better. Now you're onto
Yep.
something.
There you go. Yep. I mean, you could even look at some of the way that the characters are dressed in like Mario Tennis. They have that kind of like
Yeah.
sweatbands and shorts or skirts and like
Sort of the polo shirt.
polo shirt, or like they have like the tank tops.
Tank tops.
Yep. So I think there's a lot of cute stuff you could do there.
And I just sort of see you as having the headband on, potentially being used as the
Oh
ball.
no, I'm glad you said that, because I was about to say I would totally be like, I would have like the stripes, like I would be green and I would have the white stripes like a ball. Oh my god, yeah, that would be hilarious. And I'm just imagining Liv like dribbling me like with her racket, like bouncing me up and down as the ball.
And the question is, would you be enjoying it or not?
Maybe.
Because like
I like taking a little
very
bit of
genuinely. I don't know.
No, I know. Listen, I like taking a little punishment here and there. But yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll have to see if and when I get art of that in the future.
And then that could be a redeem or something, or a toggle where Liv pulls out a tennis racket and that you sort of bounce around the screen.
I know, that would be cute. I would love that.
Or just, ooh, I've thought of the ultimate vaporwave starting soon screen for you, VIL.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
The bouncing DVD icon. You know the one I'm talking about.
No, I know exactly what you're talking
But
about. Yeah, that would.
But it's you that it's the crab, but as it bounces across the different parts of the screen, that the color changes a la the DVD icon.
Yes.
But just as starting soon BRB screen, you want to talk vaporwave, classic aesthetic of just nostalgia tech. That's it.
I want you to know that I absolutely love this idea. That's such a cool idea. I will definitely have to think about that in the future. Yeah. Thank you for the free idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that I love just sort of throwing things out there, and goodness knows, obviously you do what is best for you and your content.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I love ideating and just thinking of, okay, what if this, or maybe that, and that maybe you take that and you spin it in your own way and find something.
Oh yeah, I'm
better
sure I
fun.
could find a fun way to do that. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it just sort of hit me of like, wait a minute, that's super vaporwave.
It definitely has that like retro vibe.
Mm-hmm. So we have tennis. There's that potential to come back to it. Do you have any favorite memories of playing tennis, whether it be in a match, in practice, or even if it was watching somebody else play that I imagine you watched your parents play to some extent? Are there any just standout memories or experiences for you?
Let me think. For me, I think I think one of my favorite memories was going to a tennis tournament with my dad, and this wasn't like a small tournament. This was like a big official tournament, like with some of the pro players there, and just getting to be up in the stands and just cheer and watch like the professionals play, and not just kind of like watching as like if you take me to like a football game or a basketball game, I'll watch and I'll have some fun, but like I'm not really gonna know what's going on. I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, that sure looked like hard, like I couldn't do that, you know. But like the fact that I can watch tennis, and because I've played and I know the technical difficulty that goes behind a lot of these like shots, and like the training that they had to go through to like accomplish that, like I feel like I can appreciate it way more than other sports. So like when I go to, you know, those tournaments, I'm like, oh man, like I can tell the difference between like an amazing shot and like a good shot. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and it's because I know, like I've played it myself. And you know, I feel like there's a lot of people who like play football who like I've never played a day in their life, but they're like, "Oh man, I could do that so much better. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they just didn't do this thing." Like even if they don't think that they could do it better, they always like to criticize like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
I can't
it's so
believe
much easier to
the
be an armchair
coach."
critic when you don't know the inner workings or have the experience.
Exactly, but once you've played it yourself and you know what goes into it, and I guess especially with my dad being a coach, like I know all that. And so like I don't necessarily have that feeling of like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they missed that shot." I more have that feeling of like,
You're
"Oh my
sympathetic
god,
of,
like."
"Man, that was a tough shot."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so yeah, I just have good memories of like going to those tournaments and watching that with my dad, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. For me, my sport, and I will maintain that it is a sport, was marching band. Um, because goodness knows that you want to talk athleticism, being able to march in time, being able to march in time while playing an instrument, being able to march in time while playing an instrument, and being aware of everyone around you. You know, marching band is about 5 different mental and physical things simultaneously, and it is tough. And being in marching band means that I went to a lot of football games, and I can understand a first down, I can understand a field goal, a touchdown, I know a safety, I know which one is the quarterback. I could not tell you for the life of me who is halfback, fullback. I don't know what a halfback, fullback is, but if I watch a marching band competition or just a band performing, I can understand everything in there.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm assuming it would take a lot of it's nice that you have an appreciation for it because you know the work that goes into it.
Yeah, and that I still try and go to a marching band competition locally, every year or two just to sort of see it. And it's something that, for me, you, there is that difference in enjoyment and being able to understand the work that has gone into the people that are competing or performing that given day.
Yeah, yeah. Like I will never know anything that goes into the marching band stuff because even though I had friends in marching band, I didn't really like, you know, I didn't do it myself, so I don't really know like how difficult certain things are. But, you know, like I can't tell the difference between a good and a bad marching band other than I guess if someone is especially bad, then obviously it'll hurt to listen to. But
Yeah.
in general though, it's like, you know, I can't tell the difference between a pretty good marching band and like a, oh my god, that's incredible. Like how do they do that, you know?
Yeah. Here's the secret tech. The most difficult thing to do in marching band is parallel diagonal lines.
Okay,
Because if a
interesting.
single person is off by a single inch, you
Oh,
will
that's
notice it.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That
That makes sense.
lines or parallel lines are so tough. But that's me getting into my own nitty gritty there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But we've been at this for just about 3 hours now, and I have a couple questions that I always ask my guests as we start to wind down. The first is, do you have any goals for the rest of the year? That we are now into July, so less than half of 2023 is left. Is there anything that you're hoping to accomplish, whether it be a particular stream, could be numbers related, project related? Is there anything you're really hoping to see done before the year is out?
Yeah. That's a tough question. I mean, I think that the main thing This is not something that I know a lot of VTubers put stock in this and they like put a lot of their value into it. I don't. However, would I like to accomplish this? Yes, I would. Um, I think it's a nice goal to shoot for the end of the year, trying to get partner. Or at least raising my numbers to be around that level. Even if I don't get partner this year, that's fine. I don't care. But I definitely like being able to remember how I mentioned like I like seeing improvement with myself and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so being able to kind of see over time, like figure out what my audience likes and what things brings in viewers that like make them like want to stick around and enjoy watching me more. That kind of goes back into like my clipping where it's like I try over trial and error figuring out what people enjoy watching clip wise. Well, you know my main source of revenue is YouTube, and I guess this is partly I'm not going to put a number to this, but another goal of mine is to make my Twitch um a bigger part of my income compared to my YouTube, because I don't want all my eggs in a basket with YouTube. And thankfully it's not, because I do video editing, I do Twitch, and I have YouTube. So it's not like all my stuff is caught up in YouTube. But a big goal of for myself as a content creator is being able to diversify and have it so that some of my revenue comes from YouTube, and some of it comes from Twitch, and some of it comes from video editing commissions and stuff like that. So just being able to kind of diversify myself more, and uh, also have like a good work-life management. Right now I feel like I spend so much time doing editing and content creation and stuff that sometimes I kind of neglect some stuff in real life. And I feel like a lot of VTubers can, or any kind of online content creator, if you're trying to do this full time, can relate to that. But just having better work-life balance would be nice. Yeah, I don't know. So I guess just over the course of this year, I want to just have more self-improvement, both in my career side of things in VTubing, but also in my personal life. And I think I'm trying to think if there's anything else specifically that I really want to. I'm looking forward to TwitchCon.
Ooh, going to TwitchCon.
Yes, I'm for sure going to TwitchCon. I went to Offkai. Offkai was so much fun. It was good seeing you there.
Yes, you and I ran into each other under kind of hilarious circumstances, but it was delightful.
Yeah, it was really nice actually getting to meet. So I'm glad we got to meet before this interview. It was a funny circumstance, but like that, I was already passionate about what I'm doing and about VTubing, but I think Offkai only deepened my passion for VTubing. And so I'm excited for TwitchCon to be able to meet even more friends and other people at that convention. And I know that I'm going to go to Offkai next year too. I think Offkai and TwitchCon are going to be kind of my two ones that I always want to go to from now on. And
sadly, I don't think I'm going to be at TwitchCon. That just wasn't able to figure out the practicality on it of just getting to Vegas, a place to stay, and
it's a lot.
It is a lot, and that I'm fortunate to go to a good number of conventions, and usually I'm working in one way or the other. There's a very, very small handful that I'll go to just to attend, and I wasn't able to justify the expense for TwitchCon. I do want to go, and I'm excited and curious to see how it goes, because there was a pretty good VTuber presence last year. It's obviously not going to be Offkai in that everything is about VTubers, but it's going to have a greater presence for VTubers, I think, in an interesting way that not too many VTubers are going to be guests at TwitchCon, whereas you get a bunch of VTubers as guests at anime cons. But I think that more VTubers are going to be at TwitchCon physically than most anime cons.
I think so too, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be the experiences that folks make outside of TwitchCon's programming, and uh,
Yep.
the things that people were able to do together that weekend. And I'm very excited to watch from afar.
Well, and I know that, like, obviously I met a lot of friends at Offkai, but there's a lot of people who I didn't get to meet who are going to TwitchCon. So I'm like,
Hmm.
you know, I'm so looking forward to that. And yeah, I hope to see you at a future convention.
Definitely. And the last question I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not the question of what does it mean to be a VTuber, but being a VTuber means different things to different people. I've had people say it lets me get in touch with my inner child. It lets me be someone I can't be in real life. I've had others take a more clinical, professional approach of it's a mask that I wear, it's a tool in my tool belt, and it lets me do things I could never do as a face cam streamer, and that even if I don't have that emotional connection to my model in the way that some do, I can't imagine being the performer that I am without being a VTuber, and that everything in between and beyond is completely valid. There's no wrong way to be a VTuber. So for you, VIL, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
Um, Being a VTuber to me means getting to be myself. I feel like I um, am more myself behind this avatar more than I am if I were to stream with a face cam. Um, and that's not to say, like, in real life, obviously I still very much act like myself, but if I was like performing in front of people and streaming and trying to, like, engage with people online, I feel like I'd be much more self-conscious just showing my face and just kind of like, because also, like, who doesn't want to be like an anime character, right? Like the fact that I can be like this little cute
You little crab
cartoon
dude.
crab, yeah, like you can't do that in real life. And like also a lot of the faces that I make like wouldn't be nearly as like cute or interesting if like like you can't have these like cute little blushies in real life. Like obviously you can blush, but it doesn't look like this.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's all very stylized,
You
and
can't have literal steppies.
can't have literal steppies, exactly. And like if you don't mind, I can show you the steppies.
Please, by all means. Like, I feel kind of bad that there was a passing mention of kink positivity, and
Yeah.
I did not mean to avoid it. That you know full well, I have had
Oh, I know. Yeah.
multiple adult content creators on this channel, and I have no problem talking about it. We just wound up in so many other conversations that we actually wound up missing it a bit. So if nothing else, yes, let's get that kink positivity. Let's get some steppies right here on VTuber Talk.
Yeah. So what's really cool is like I love that, like, obviously I could face cam stream, but like, if I did, could I do something like this where like, we have let me see, bam, and then this kind of technology, like this has never been done in the
This
VTuber
had to be a
community
custom
before.
request.
Yeah, I know, this was a custom request and it had never been done, and I talked with my rigger and they were like, yes, like I can do this and I would love to do it, and I want to pioneer in this, kind of space, and I think it would be cool. And like to have it be like tracking, and also like it squishes like to my body depending on where it moves, and then also the toes move individually of each other.
Yeah, there is attention to detail here, and that technologically, nothing here is inherently groundbreaking, but you are absolutely right that no one had applied the technology in this way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so it's not like it was impossible to do. It was possible to do that, but but no one had done it because they just didn't invest in that, because that wasn't an interest of theirs. But because I'm a kink positive person, I wanted to include that in my content creation.
That whether you like it or not, we talk about marketing, we talk about branding, VIL. Feet are a part of your brand now.
Oh, you're right, and I'm okay with that. I am happy that hey, it means my branding is working.
Yeah. Well, I guess that sort of brings up the question of, were you deliberately hoping, angling to get feet to be part of your brand, or did you just realize over time, oh, this has been incorporated so naturally that even though I didn't necessarily plan for it to be part of my brand, that it is now, and I'm more than fine with that.
No, I absolutely did plan for it to be part of my branding, and that's mainly because even before I got into the community, I've always been a kink positive person. I've always just been a kinky person in my real life, and I was actually in online kink spaces before I joined the VTuber community, and then once I decided to start doing online content creation in the VTuber space, I knew that I wanted that to continue to always be part of what I do. And so, I wanted to create a kink positive community where people could come and feel accepted, for those kinks. And even if people don't come to my community who have my kinks, it's still a welcoming space where you can talk about. I basically say as long as whatever you're into is consensual and it's not illegal, then like great, whatever you're into, more power to you. Even if it's not something I'm interested in, I'm here to support you and to say like don't be ashamed for what you're interested in. There's always going to be a group or people who understand you and accept you. And I also like the fact that because I'm so open about what I'm into, people jokingly call me like the foot crab or the crab who likes feet or whatever. um and if people can see me being so open about it, and other VTubers who aren't even in the kink positive space, who are just in the wider VTuber community, and they are my friends and they accept me for who I am, if they can accept me, then clearly they can accept you. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that I'm hoping that by being open about myself and what I enjoy, it allows others who maybe grew up feeling ashamed for what they're into, realizing, oh, maybe I don't need to feel ashamed. Maybe, it's okay to be what I'm into, and that there are spaces, where I can be accepted and that I should be accepted. And so I just want to, and I also hope that I can normalize these things so that maybe I've had people tell me, they're like, oh, VIL, I used to think that these kinks were really weird, but now that I've talked to you and I've heard you talk, explain it and just show it, I might not be into it. Some people have said that they've become into it, but then other people have just been like, I'm not into it, but I get it. Like, I understand. And that's really all I want, is just more understanding.
Ooh.
Oh,
Sorry, we had a weird video blip. We're back though.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hold on a sec. My rigging stopped. Hold on.
Wow. Well, conveniently, it's happening toward the end of the show, anyways. But oh nope, I think we're back.
Yeah. Hold on. No, I'm gonna reconnect my V bridger. Bam. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. So but yeah. So I just wanted to create a space that I personally feel comfortable with, and that resonates with content that I'm personally interested in. But then I also wanted to make it a space where other people could be comfortable and maybe learn more about themselves or just feel more comfortable about themselves.
Well, I think you have more than succeeded in that, both in being able to create a kink positive space, in your goal to promote and elevate other VTubers with your clipping, your just pioneering of technology, and the way that you've also just brought vaporwave and everything else that you're not the only vaporwave VTuber, but it's still definitely a niche within a niche, and that you are sort of helping flagship that in a way, and that all of your content, all of your work, I think, has just been a delight to watch. You've got a lot going for you, man, and meeting was such a delight. Having you here tonight has been so much fun. If you are not following VIL for some reason, please be sure to do so. Links are there at the bottom of the screen. It'll be in the channel panels. It'll be in the video description. If you're on YouTube, hi YouTube, like, subscribe. Right. That's the closest I do to actually being a good content creator, shouting out YouTube at the end of the video.
There we go. Thank you so much for having me on. It was so much fun. And, I really appreciate that you do this, these interviews to, shine a light on different VTubers, and to also kind of allow spaces for us to talk more about ourselves and just kind of create interesting conversations. So Thank you again. It was lovely being here. It was great meeting you. Yeah, I'm excited to see who you interview in the future.
Definitely. I do have my next show scheduled. It'll be for Saturday. I'll be announcing who in a day or two. It's actually someone I've been trying to coordinate with for a while because they're really
Awesome.
busy, and I finally nailed
Yeah.
them down. I'm really excited.
Okay, good.
So definitely be on the lookout for that. That you can
Of
follow
course.
me if you are interested in more stuff like this here on Twitch and Twitter. It's just /VTuber Talk, both places. I do actually have one last question for you, Bill, and that's who
Sure.
would you
Yep.
like us to raid?
Oh,
While he
let me,
looks around for a good target.
yeah.
Again, thank you all so much for tuning in, whether you've been here since pre-show or if you tuned in along the way, if you came in as part of the raid. Also, Mandy May, I missed that follow. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you for the follow.
Mandy May.
Thank you again to Pixie for the raid. Hopefully, you have been able to relax, get some food, get something to drink, and thanks to anyone who was raided in and has stuck around. Thank you,
Yeah.
Glasses Q. I'm glad you had a good time. All right, Bill, got
So
somebody for us?
I do. And the funny thing is that Mandy May is actually someone who I just clipped tonight. The
Ha!
clip went out earlier, so I think that's why Mandy followed. Yes, I do have someone. So I'm gonna be actually hanging out vaporwave vibing with this person later this week. So if we could go show
Ooh,
some
bit of a
love
preview.
to, yeah, Millie Mizuame. I will type
Yeah,
their
please
name
send
for
me
you.
that. That
Yep,
way I
yep.
don't send us to the wrong place.
But this person, if you look them up, they should pop up. They are a Venus flytrap VTuber.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I actually also met them at Offkai. It was so much fun getting to meet her and hang out. She's a lovely, lovely person, and also, yeah, I love her VTuber design.
Fantastic. Well, I hope you have a great time with Millie during Vaporwave Vibing
Thank
later this
you.
week. Again, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you to everyone in chat. Be sure to spam some emotes if you got them. Let Millie know that VIL sent you all. I will be back, like I said, this Saturday evening, so definitely be looking forward to that. Again, cannot thank you all enough. Like I said, VTuber Talk does not exist without the guests, so have a great rest of your evening, everyone. Say hi to Millie for us, and I will see you all next time.
Bye, everybody.
Getting the raid set up. Yay. And sending through, letting the outro play for YouTube.